I got one more day out of Leroy, that's it. Manager's expecting a huge heroin shipment. Carbines are for protection.
What happens if those mines crash that dope party with Leroy's M4s?
We lose all the Niner business, buy ourselves a huge black.
That ain't gonna happen. These Mexi assholes come into our territory. They steal from us. They shit on our livelihood. And I don't care who we gotta grease or kill. I want those goddamn guns back.
Aye, me and Chibs will pull together all our current intel on the mines. Juice, start hacking into crime databases. Get addresses and name mines in the system.
Where you find those guns, Bobby, I want a fat man and little boy every inch of that goddamn place.
Bobby's got Tahoe this weekend.
No, I'm canceling that shit.
No, man.
Yes, I
Come on,
I should be able to
Bobby.
decide
You got
what
two ex-wives already spent the goddamn casino checks. Last thing we need is PIs and lawyers camping out front.
And who's gonna handle the pyro? I'm not there.
Nobody blows that shit better than Opie. Opie's leaning right these days.
Opie's gonna lean any way we need him to. You get him on board.
Welcome to episode 128 of Gundamn at MAHQ. This is Chris, and I'm joined as always by my partners in crime, Soulbro and Neo. Say hello, gentlemen.
The saga continues. Where's Wallace?
Indeed.
You said partners in crime, so I was like,
Nah, Wallace is at the Fruitvale station.
He is.
I discovered that
really?
this week. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
well, the question that everybody's been asking for how long was The Wire on for and how long ago? Well, these many years has now been answered.
Yes.
So if you have Fruitvale Station showing at a theater near you, go see it. The kid who plays Wallace is in it.
There you go. That question is done, so no more
Just
Where's
don't-
Wallace jokes on Gundam.
Don't ask String.
You'll get no answers.
String stack,
I like to call him Stacker Bell.
There you go. That's not a bad name. So in this episode, we are going to have two topics on queue. The first will be a wrap-up on the recent anime mecha series Gargantia on the Verdurous planet.
Mm-hmm.
We will be discussing our thoughts on that 13-episode series. And then after that, we are canceling the apocalypse to give you our long-awaited review of Guillermo del Toro's robot masterpiece, Pacific Rim.
Woohoo! Yeah!
So before we get into any of that, though, I'm going to kick it over to Neo at the Larry King Memorial News Desk.
You are the king! You are the king!
To give us all of the latest news. So take it on for us, sir.
Thank you, Chris, for that. And coming to you from the Larry King Memorial Studio, this is Neo. And this is going to be doing some Neo's Listener Submitted News articles. And always, you can post those on the Neo's Listener Submitted News articles thread in the Gundam section of the Mecha Talk forum. But before I begin, I'm going to do something. I'm going to use a word that Chris loves to hear. A little bit of disruption. A little bit of disruption. We're going to kind of break it up with the news. And I'm just going to tell you guys this. There's going to be probably some changes to the thread, and so keep on the lookout for that. We're going to kind of get things a little bit more concise, a little bit more focused. Love the participation, but sometimes these last few months or so, we've been getting some things that may or may not necessarily been things that we need to really discuss, and maybe they should be in another venue that has a better way of discussing them, i.e. other podcasts or blogs. So nothing against anybody, but we're just going to do a little bit of disruption. Disrupt you, Chris. You're disrupted. Your Wednesday has been disrupted.
I'm okay with disruption as long as it's in a purely non-Silicon Valley context.
Well, good thing, because we're non-Silicon Valley. So But yes, and thank you for that. And first article here comes from Poster Strike Zero, and this is just going to be a quick one. He's got a link here, and I think everybody's heard about this, and it's going to BBC. But yes, this makes the robot apocalypse even more prevalent and probably going to happen. It's got a little article about that unmanned drone that made the carrier landing on the U.S. carrier. Yeah, the Navy's X-47B drone that touched down on the USS George H.W. Bush. So yeah, fun time, mobile doll time. So if Private Trace Kushranat is out there, I'd probably keep an eye on him. So because you never know, he might create some little organization and then take over things. So thank you, Mr. Strike Zero, for your submission. Oh, the next one here comes from FlameX, and man, I wish this was first, but it's just not. But at least it's second. This is a Survey News alert. Yes, a Survey News alert. This is coming from Yahoo. So wow, they got some clicks today. Then it's saying that Michael Bay Survey has cast Chinese star Han Gen in Transformers 4. So this is like the second big Chinese actor that they've cast in this movie. So I think there might be a theme in this one. You thinking Pan-Pacific Asian region? Maybe some of the things going to happen there, guys? I don't know.
Hey, man, they want their red money.
Yes, they do.
Hey. Be nice. But yes, I guess he is Mr. Han Gen is one of the
They want that money from Red China and they'll do anything for it.
Han Gen is one of the most influential entertainers in China. So, and I know that they had another person. It was a woman. I forget what her name was. It was I'm trying to search here. Something Ling or something. But she was also another huge China. Oh, Li Bingbing.
Li Bingbing. Yeah.
Li Bingbing. So yes, and of course. Survey's masterpiece will be released next year, and it's going to have Mark Wahlberg, Stanley Tucci, Kelsey Grammer, and Chinese actors Han Gen and Li Bingbing, and plus large parts of metal just going all over the place.
Of course,
all to Chris's enjoyment. So thank you, Mr. Flame X. I was going to call you Survey X, but
Survey X.
Survey X. Is that his doppelganger? We've lost Survey. We can't make any blockbusters. Luckily, we made Survey X.
We cloned Survey X.
And thank you for that Survey News alert. Next one here comes from the most evil of all the Australians, Vent Noir. And he's got a little link here, and for all you gaming fans and all you fans of Armored Core, and I know that's a big mecha game. Mm-hmm. He's got the link here going to the Anime News Network. The Armored Core Verdict Day's second English trailer has just posted. So if you go there and click on it, you'll be able to see it. And I just looked at it not too long ago, and it looks just like all Armored Core, which is still pretty cool. So if you're into that, I'm sure you're excited. And thank you, Mr. Vent Noir, for your submission, and watch out for those dingoes. Next one here comes from Vent Noir again, man, and he's got a link here, and I guess this is pretty apropos for one of our topics today. And I'm not going to go too much into this, but I know that Chris has seen this. I don't know if Solbro has. You might just want to mention one or two of your favorites if you like. But there's an article on IO9 about like. There was a project about 4-string Jaegers in Pacific Rim, and people were making up, like they were taking like the concept art or some of that line art, and
it's not the concept art; it's the Jaeger generator from the Pacific Rim website.
There you go.
That you can custom color and put different weapons on and put a name on it. So they've just been having fun with that.
Yeah, one of them is Macho Man Randy Savage. So I mean.
One that I enjoyed is one from America called Swiggity Swiju, Let's Kill Some Kaiju.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what it says, not Evangelion, damn it.
Either that or probably the other one, Mega Dinklage.
Oh my God, Mega Dinklage?
I also enjoyed Diarrhea Touchdown.
Yeah.
Along with Padawan Dick Shark.
Well, I'm looking at one that's called Cock Knocker. Cock spelled Koch.
And just like any military force, you usually have a chaplain in there, and they have one from here from Vatican City, the genuflectorator.
Nice.
Or my personal favorite, Wrangler J Christmas tits.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm loving Buzzsaw McKillcount.
Actually, one that I found last night that I think is probably the funniest. You got to scroll down a little bit for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, and let me just do that. And this will be our final one, but this one's very appropriate. It is, where are you? Gosh, this is a lot of but I remember seeing it last night. Oh, the J.J. Abrams. And it's very, right? The tagline is, "Flair, we win." So, yeah. And it actually had lens flare on the photo. So thank you, Mr. Event Noir, for your submission there. Next one here comes from EA Net Dude. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
This goes into something we talked about last week.
Oh.
Yoshiyuki Tomino. You guys have heard him, right? I think
Never heard of him. Don't like him.
Who the hell is that?
heard of this guy. He's done a few films. He's done a few shows. Whatever. But I know we talked about it last episode about his G Reiko project, but the official title has been released, and it's called G's Reconquista. I guess that's how you would...
Reconquista, yeah, that's it.
Reconquista. So, yeah, it was announced on July 5th of this year. And the show is scheduled to broadcast August 16th. So, we got the name. So here's for some excitement, as long as it's not Wings of Rian.
You sure about that broadcast date, or is that a trailer?
Let me see. Did I read that wrong? Are you questioning my...
Who do you think you are, Will McAvoy?
Oh, I'm about to pontificate about some things that I just know everything about.
Let me tell you about the Glass-Steagall Act again.
It says here, show is scheduled to be broadcast on August 16th, 2013.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know about that, because Tomino was just talking about how behind he is. So,
well, it says here, okay, on July 15th, 2013, Tomino and related staffs were attending a recording of NK's TV show called Shibuya Anime Land, where the official title of the latest anime project was released. Parentheses, show is scheduled to be broadcast August 16th. So I guess it's that show, but this is a horribly written article.
Yeah.
So thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
so yeah. Because based on what he was saying, like, oh, we haven't even done the storyboards yet, I did not think that this show would be starting this year. So,
so not too much hate on the boards. I'm not a complete idiot. I'm just reading what was up there, and it was a little confusing. So
it goes on to say that it was hinted that this new anime series will be broadcasted on spring of next year, 2014. So still up in the air, but it looks like it's around the corner from the sound of it.
And thank you, Mr. Joe J. McWanche, for checking the facts there.
You're welcome.
Checking the facts. And Vet Noir again here. And and this is Solbro. Are you sitting down?
I am.
Sitting down?
Stand up and then sit down again.
Yes.
All right. I'm doing it.
And then spin around. And put your left foot in and then your left foot out. But this is from the Anime News Network. And there's going to be a Robotech / Voltron crossover comic.
Ooh, yeah, man. I have
Light Entertainment has announced that they're going to do a crossover comic book series between Robotech and Voltron. Oh my God.
You know what else there is?
What's that?
I might be soul blowing you here. A Robo lawsuit.
Oh, I heard about that too.
Against
Yes. Yes.
But just to touch upon this crossover, the very first thing I ever wrote as a fanfic was a Robotech Voltron crossover when I was 8 years old. We're talking 1986.
Was this on a stone tablet?
It was. Was it on
papyrus?
We painted it as hieroglyphics on the wall. But me and my friend Robert, when we were kids,
Rick
man,
would fall in love with Princess.
Oh, dude, it was ridiculous, and I was 8, and it was terrible. So I look at this with a.
Just answer me one question in your fanfic. I need to know just this one thing.
What's that?
Still have it?
Did Ben Dixon get to eat his steak?
He did.
He did.
Nobody. Oh God, I wrote that on like elementary school paper. No, I don't have it. Oh God, no. I wish I did.
Sometimes parents keep those things, man.
I'd have to ask my mom, but if she kept it,
her, seriously, this would be a special because if you get that,
We do a dramatic reading of it.
immediately mail it to me,
oh my God,
and I will read it. So everybody, all listeners out there on the Facebook and Twitter, keep reminding Soulbro to ask his mom if he still has his Robotech/Voltron fanfic.
I want to play the role of Robotech narrator.
If I get that script, auditions are open, and yeah.
I would have to ask. I would have to ask the guy. What's his name? Andrew. The dude that runs the Pretentious Internet Theater to guest spot on our show just to read that shit because that's his forte. He reads bad fanfics all the time, and it would just be the worst. Oh my God! I'll ask her. I hope she doesn't have it.
I hope to God that she has this. This would just be, it would make my day. So thank you, Mr. Vent Noir, for your submission. And thank you, Soulbro, for your revelation. And that is just too much. Oh my God. Arbiter Gundam is here. He must be back on the good side of Macross World because he's got a link to Macross World. And all of those lucky enough to go to Otakon 2013. Guess what you might be able to see?
What's that?
Well, maybe going to see Shinichiro Watanabe. He's going to attend that. And Yoko Kanno. And Otakon is in good old Bmore, Baltimore. So watch out.
Old McNulty Town.
Is Otakon, how many blocks down from Amsterdam is it from? Got your WMD.
He's got WMD right here, yo. Just ask people where's Wallace at.
Dude, if I ever go to Otakon, that would be the shirt I would wear the whole time. Where's Wallace? And people would probably love that. If you walk around Baltimore, people would be going crazy because I mean, Baltimore is what, like 3 steps away from Detroit. I mean, it's pretty bad, so they don't have much to laugh at. But yeah,
Man.
Otakon's going to be held August 9th through the 11th. So all those that are fortunate enough to go, check those guys out there. So thank you, Mr. Arbiter Gundam, and I guess you're getting that half of 1%
He's gonna check his PayPal account after this episode airs.
Yes, I got 5 clicks. Yes,
Nice.
So, I guess I'll hit this one just because I feel bad that it's got a robot in it. So what the hell? Rodimus76 here has a post, and at the recently at San Diego Hollywood Con, because I don't even call it Comic Con anymore because it's Hollywood Con. It was released that in Avengers 2, Electric Boogaloo, the villain is going to be. Who do you think? Who do you think the villain's going to be? I'm thinking.
I'm thinking Batroc the Leaper.
Or the Beetle.
If
Yeah,
only.
Beetle.
If only, Beth.
No.
Oh well, Batroc the Leaper is in the next Cap movie, just for the record. But
Oh, get out of town. Well, that makes sense because he is a villain that we're
Back to this because
all right.
at the end of Avengers, we saw that end credit scene right after the credits.
oh, you mean the Anti-Hulk?
The and we saw that, and it's like, oh, that looks like Thanos. So he's got to be the villain in Avengers 2. Well, wrong. It's been announced. It is now going to be called the Age of Ultron, and this kicks ass because, one, Ultron's a badass robot, and it's going to make me scared as hell watching this movie. And, of course, I will be cheering for the Avengers, straight up and down. But...
And also clutching the robot tomes the whole time.
Oh my God! They'll probably be like, "Sir, you can't bring this stuff in. You can't bring in all these tchotchkes." I'm sitting there with my
Sir,
Admiral.
you can't come into this movie theater covered in your own filth. With a beard that's down to the floor.
Yes. Well, that means I'm in the past. No, mustache is past, beard is future. Sorry.
Indeed.
Just trying to get that whole
Yeah,
time.
it's future because it's 2015. So
Yeah, I was trying to get that whole time continuity there.
Yeah,
Wearing
get
my
this-
Admiral Adama specs. But yeah, so it's announced that the villain's going to be Ultron, and that kicks pretty major ass. So hopefully it'll be as good as everyone thinks it's going to be. So
What's wild about that?
what's wild about it?
Well,
What's
they
wild
talk-
about it, Wallace?
They talked. They talked to Joss Whedon and asked him, since you're introducing Ultron, does that mean that Hank Pym's going to be in the next movie? And he confirmed that no, Hank Pym will not be in that Avengers movie at all. So they're going to either find a new way to introduce Ultron.
Violation, 616 violation.
Mandarin, ruined my childhood.
My speculation. My speculation is since they are
mark this everyone.
indeed. My speculation is because they do have an Ant-Man movie in the works. It's coming in series 3 of the Avengers movies, that they're going to retroactively explain Ultron and how he comes to being in that movie, as opposed to having that movie having the.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
What other very intelligent guy that we've already been introduced to?
I know that's also another speculation.
Well,
that Tony Stark,
let me tell you, son, why you're already wrong.
All right, go ahead, kill me.
Because Joss Whedon said that we need to simplify things and work with the Avengers we already have, and we ain't doing Hank Pym, and there's things that need to be put aside because there's stuff that works in comics that doesn't necessarily work in movies, so you're overthinking things. And
Bullshit.
my bet is one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
It is a creation of Tony's Gone Awry, or it is a creation based on tech stolen from Tony.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm thinking. More Armor Wars type of deal. Yeah.
Yes, you could certainly go down that Armor Wars route, but given that we already have a genius robot inventor guy, why not just stick with that for the sake of these movies?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Because how much of a step up from the Mark 42 would be Ultron? I think the
and Jarvis.
and Jarvis, yeah. So I think that could work. So, but thank you, Mr. Rodimus76, for your submission. Next one here comes from Wielder, and it's been announced. And this doesn't really surprise me because I kind of figured this, but it's in the Anime News Network. But the final Gundam UC volume of the anime series, episode 7, is going to be extended to about 90 minutes.
Thank God.
Yeah, so
Which
at least we
means
won't.
90 minutes of wall-to-wall robot porn.
Yeah.
All the MSVs you can count.
And this one will have MSB POV. No, it was announced June 4th that they're going to be going about 90 minutes or so. So it's going to be, but you're going to have to wait for that 7th and final volume to be released next spring. So there you go.
How dare they make the fans wait, and they should be releasing that now.
They actually should
They
pay me
should've-
to watch it. Oh.
They want me to buy more volumes when they said it was going to be 6 and now it's 7. Oh.
I'm the fan. I got the power. Oh, Mom, where's my toaster strudels? Oh,
Toaster strudels.
Oh my God.
Sometimes you like breakfast at night. I mean, I'm sorry.
Good shit.
Hey, toaster strudels are good.
They're damn delicious, man.
Yes.
I'm hungry for one. Shit.
I did something the other day. I had I was like, man, I haven't had this craving in forever. I had to Lego my Eggo.
Damn.
I got home from work and I'm like, what do I want to eat? I'm like looking at my refrigerator. I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want that. It's like, yeah, it's good. But I'm like, oh, Eggo waffles sound amazing. So
You sound like a college era Dale who would have waffles at 3 a.m. for dinner.
Nice.
well,
nice.
that was college age Neo too.
As long as he have a chicken with him.
Hey, I'm a big. I think I like breakfast food. I just don't really like it at breakfast. I'm not a big breakfast eater, but I like breakfast food. So
I'm good for breakfast for dinner too. I've done that several times, and it's freaking awesome.
It's fourth meal.
It's fourth meal and date.
Yeah. So, but back to this. Yes, thank you, Wielder, for your submission. And the last one here comes from, we're closing this out with, no, we're not closing this out. The second to last one. Sorry. Little news tease there. Gotcha. This is from Evil Australian Vent Noir. And I think, Chris, you need to change his name from High Mat Spammer to Evil Australian. I think that would be better.
Damn.
I think that'd be a better thing. And put evil like quotes, like cute. or like a smiley on it or something. But yes, he's got a link here to the Anime News Network, and I'm just gonna say that the second full trailer for Code Geass Aikido the Exiled is being streamed. So definitely check that out. That's going to be coming out.
Suzaku did it, and he did it.
Well,
you know what?
He is in it, and he did do it.
Oh, well, shit. Guilty as charged.
Are you sure that's Suzaku and not Amuro?
Oh, damn.
I don't know.
I see what you did there.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. But yes, so definitely check that out. And thank you, Mr. Vent Noir, for that. And I think God, I'm having a brain freeze on this. It's what, August or September? Does that number 2 come out?
September the 14th, from what I'm saying.
Thank you. So thank you, Mr. Vent Noir, for your submission. Next one here, I've never seen this poster before, so I guess this is a new one. Oh, and sit down, Soul Bro, because I guess this is either you and Incognito or one of your groupies. M121 Akuma.
Oh, yeah. He's submitted to Fighters Ready before. So.
Yeah.
Shout outs to him, man. Good stuff.
Well, he goes here to tformers.com. I guess this is the Transformers website. All Transformers, all time, all heart and soul.
No, it's actually Teabag Formers.
Oh, ouch.
It seems like this website though is all heart and soul because I just see the little tab up on the top there, G1. You know, that's when it wasn't about the toys. But
damn.
I guess at old San Diego Hollywood Con, there was a crossover set that's been now claimed for between Transformers and G.I. Joe. That it says here, it appears that Hasbro's San Diego Hollywood Con exclusive G.I. Joe meets Transformers has landed them in court with a lawsuit from Robotech distributors Harmony Gold USA.
Of course.
Harmony Gold. We want to be relevant. Look at us. Don't ignore us. Macross bad.
It's reporting that the G.I. Joe and Transformers, the epic conclusion, violates Harmony Gold USA's Hollywood license on the animated Japanese series from which epic conflict originated. And I guess
for
it's
one reason.
The fact that Jetfire is on the cover. And
not so much that, but that box that you're looking at, it actually contains, those G.I. Joe F-14s that they used to make that you put the figure in and whatnot?
Yeah.
What they did at Comic-Con is they made a special Jetfire version of those F-14s. Right. So, and they just pretty much combined the two. It's kind of like what they did with Starscream a couple years ago, where they combined him with one of the Cobra planes and put Cobra Commander inside of it. It's the same thing, but with Jetfire. And because Jetfire is based on the Valkyrie, Harmony Gold apparently thinks they have a case because
Harmony Gold is clearly putting out so many toys, right, that are competing on the market and will confuse consumers, right, guys? Right?
I think you're wrong, Soul Bro. Jetfire is not based on the Valkyrie. He's based on the Veritech.
The Veritech, yeah. Sorry, I want to step ahead. Oh yeah, it's based on the Veritech fighter that, of course, Harmony Gold has rights to because they own the Robotech license. So because of that, in their mind, but they do have at least some grounds. But I hope they lose because that's a cool ass toy. All I know is if you bought that toy, don't open that box because it's worth a shit ton now.
and wait till after the legal proceedings are concluded, then eBay it. eBay that bad boy.
eBay the F out of that, especially if Hasbro loses this, that mess is going to be hard to find.
You know what? I think Hasbro has considerably more resources to throw towards lawyers than little old busted ass Harmony Gold and their little shitty Robotech sequels and their little real estate business. So
I'm certain
go for it, Hasbro.
They might have to. They're probably gonna have to put a mortgage out on one of their properties to hire a lawyer.
You know what would be a great way to end this lawsuit? Hasbro's like, yo, Harmony Gold, how much are you guys worth?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
You're worth this much? You're bought.
You're bought.
Lawsuit's over.
End of story.
We'll show you how to make a Robotech series.
Oh,
there you go.
Damn, good stuff.
Now we might be getting into hope and dream territory, but it'd be funny if that happened.
And you never know. That's the thing.
It'd be a very Bruce Wayne sort of way to end it. Like, Mr. Wayne, you can't have these these chicks, inside the fountain. How much is this hotel worth? I just bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. And never think that there's not enough of a price that somebody will take. So all it takes is just that right price and that right opportunity. So, because 2 years ago, we never thought that, we always thought that George Lucas would die with Star Wars, owning Star Wars.
Who knew we'd be where we're at now?
Majority control to Disney. So everyone has their price. But thank you, Mr. M121 Akuma, for your submission. And thank you, everyone, for all of your submissions. And if you have any news articles that you'd like to submit, you can always go to the Neo's listener submitted news articles thread in the Gundamn section of the Mecha Talk forum. And like I said at the beginning of this, look for disruption. It will happen. Back to you, Chris.
All right, so Silver, why don't you give us just one quick hope and dream for the road?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Must be.
Welcome, guys, to the Hopers and Dreamers Corner. And if you ever want to submit a hope and dream, head on over to mechatalk.net, click on the Gundam forum, and find a thread that's about the Hopers and Dreamers Corner and submit yours.
The one that stinks of naivete and optimism.
The more naive, the better. But we just got one today, and it's written by Destiny_Seed X Shin, and quite a complicated name, but thank you for your submission. He writes, I hope for another great series from the Cosmic Era, and for people to stop hating on the wonderful production that was Seed. Thank you. That's
Well, they are doing the HD. They are doing the HD remaster, so there might be.
My gosh.
I'm sure the movie's about to follow.
Oh boy. I think that's a tall order at this point because it's been so long. I don't think that might be happening, but you can always hold out hope. Maybe one of these days you might get something, a little morsel, maybe a 5-minute short or something, or maybe even the OVA. Who knows? But Chris,
Speed movie confirmed for 2050. It'll happen, guys, for real. Every next Gundam that gets announced, I think it's going to be the Seed movie. I'm pretty sure of it, guys. It's going to happen.
Hold out hope. Hold out hope.
Like I said,
we know Chris is.
The HD remasters came. They did all of Seed and all of Destiny. So there's got to be a reason why they did that.
You never know. But
right now, I don't... something? I'll throw this down.
Go for it.
The General's beloved Strike Noir will get mainstream recognition in a Gundam Extreme game before we ever get another Seed series or the Seed movie. So there you go.
That's funny.
Chris has laid down the
gambit.
Gambit. Chris has laid down the Gambit. But awesome. If anything, thank you very much for your submission. Destiny_Seed Action. And that's it for the Hopers and Dreamers Corner. Back to you, Chris.
All right, and we're going to take a quick break before we get right back into our review of Pacific Rim. You're listening to Gundam at MAHQ.
Where's Sumire?
She went home. She said she only came here to see that you were all right.
Damn, the babe's leaving already.
You didn't tell her anything about me, did you?
Let's see, I think I mentioned that you're so behind that you needed to take summer classes or else you'd fail out. And of course I let her know that you had severe diarrhea last night. You got a problem with that?
What do the Anime Addicts Anonymous hosts think of My Little Pony?
If you're a dude older than 12, you really should not be watching My Little Pony. And if you are, go eat some chicken wings.
Anime.
I'd rather watch the Smurfs. Smurfette was hot.
Addicts.
I'm pretty sure I set a few My Little Ponies on fire when I was a child.
Anonymous.
No, that's cool. I'm just saying, like, My Little Ponies burn real nice because they're made of plastic.
Podcast. Visit us at AAApodcast.com, iTunes, Facebook, and live from Japan on Ustream.tv.
Greetings, I am Andrew Cook, the host of Pretentious Internet Theater. Each month, I bring you the finest in literature that internet fan fiction has to offer. Join us, won't you? At tinyurl.com/pitpodcast. Remember, there is much drama on the internet, but only the best makes Pretentious Internet Theater.
What robots are you talking about?
The goddamn robots, John!
All right, everyone, welcome back to Gundamn and MAHQ, and of course, we're with our first topic here, the review of the long-awaited release of Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim.
Ooh, yeah.
I.e., large monster versus giant robot. And I was told before we started recording by the Gundam legal department that this will be a spoiler-filled review. And Apocalypse is canceled, so that's the spoiler.
Woo!
So,
damn you.
That's part of the legal ramifications there. Thank you. I'd like to thank our attorneys there at GM, Gun Tank, and Gun Cannon at Law. So thank you. All right, Pacific Rim. We're gonna keep this short on the plot. Basically, we know what's going on. Large monsters called kaijus come up from a rift on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, start attacking cities within the Pacific region, i.e. The US, Asia, Russia, etc., Australia. Humanity has no way to combat these things. They build large 250 tall plus giant robots to fight them. It starts working. The kaiju adapt. Doesn't start working anymore, lose a lot of Jaegers, the program gets canceled. The politicians say, hey, let's channel all the money into a large wall that's going to protect the people. Doesn't necessarily work. Somehow, Stringer Bell, i.e. the General Stacker Pentecost, Idris Elba, gets funding for like 10 months or something like that. Let's all go to Hong Kong with our last 4 Jaegers. And final battle happens there. We got a plan. We're going to blow up things in the rift. And the end. I'm sorry. Apocalypse canceled and the end. So that's basically the plot. So I'm going to go first to Solbro. We'll get into some finer plot points and some things. But overall, I just want your first impressions after watching Pacific Rim.
Man. Well, thank you for handing the mic over to me.
Hey, you have to be on point. This is
by far
This is rapid fire journalism.
Hey man, right off the bat, I want to say that this is by far my favorite movie of the summer. I'll put that right there on the table. It's a huge love letter to all things mecha and monster movie related. When you look at the fact that Guillermo is just a huge fan of giant monster movies.
I don't really care about Guillermo. I want to know what were your impressions of the movie. Once you were done, what were the things that were going through Solbro's brain? Yeah, I care less about Guillermo del Toro. No, I'm just saying we know what he wants. Boy. Yeah. Answer the question.
Well, my impressions.
Cut off his mic. Answer the question. Cut off his mic. Answer the question.
Yeah, I asked you. I was like, "What are your impressions of the movie?" And you're telling me about Guillermo del Toro.
My impressions are
what's your mind during that time?
They're overwhelmingly positive, man. Just watching the movie, hearing the score first off the bat just made you feel right at home. Going into the beginning of the movie, how fast the exposition was on everything that came before, where the kaiju war began. and Raleigh Beckett's whole diatribe as to how everything broke down with how humanity struggled against the first kaiju and how the Jaegers came into being all the way up to how the war escalated was fascinating and fast. It reminded me of when I went to go see the second Incredible Hulk movie and how fast the exposition was on the Hulk's origins were at the beginning of that film. And I appreciated the movie for it. Exactly. I appreciated the movie for that because it got the ball rolling quick, and then it throws you into a couple kaiju battles and how the damage that they lay out. But just watching the movie unfold, it's not the greatest movie when it comes to dialogue, but that was done on purpose, and a lot of people don't realize that when they go see the movie. So I didn't expect the dialogue to be completely strong or to be anything on the level of Deadwood or something that's just eloquently written. But it's serviceable, and that's the point, because when you watch monster movies like Godzilla and whatnot, that's how the dialogue is. You watch mecha anime, that's how the dialogue is. A lot of the characters in this movie fit certain molds. Stacker Pentecost, first off the bat, reminds me a lot of Jamil Neat from Gundam X. He's the battered pilot turned captain who runs a bunch of hotshot pilots on his own, but he has his own backstory of being a pilot on the front lines himself. So that was really interesting to see. And you have Mako and all these other characters, but the characters rank strong to me. I know one of the biggest.
Okay. Those are your initial impressions. We'll get into characters and stuff in a little bit. I'm going to be doing this a little bit differently, so you got to be on the go here. So your impressions was
it's an awesome movie. Go see.
There you go. Chris, first impressions after you saw Pacific Rim.
It was everything I ever wanted in a mecha movie and more.
That's how you answer a question. All right, Chris. Next point. What are some of the we went very quickly through the plot here. What are some things that kind of stood out in the plot that that maybe you liked or you didn't like, and how it all worked? So,
well, the first thing that stuck out on this movie for me was, thank God it's not an origin story.
Yes.
Thank God it wasn't, these weird things are attacking and let's start up this program and let's, get this robot going. And then it's got its big first battle and we got this, pilot who doesn't know what's going on. And then, we beat back the monster and there's more coming, but we'll be ready for him. Thank God that was not this movie.
Yeah.
Because that would have been stupid. Instead, it's basically humanity's last moments because... they've been beaten back because these kaiju just keep adapting. These robots are really hard to maintain and they're really expensive, and it's not easy to get pilots that work together in unison to run these things. And, they're desperate. I think this movie is best summed up at one point when Stacker says to, is it Raleigh or Rayleigh? I don't remember now. Raleigh. He says to him, we're not the army anymore. We're the resistance now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which kind of shows you how desperate the situation is. And, I love that we had an international cast, that it wasn't go America, America, America.
Yeah.
You've got an American pilot, but his co-pilot is a Japanese woman and they're being commanded by a black British guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Russians and Chinese and Australians and, all sorts of people running around, really showing that it's an effort of the world coming together and putting aside all of their petty politics and all of their stupid differences, because this is an existential threat that surpasses all of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they're called the Pan-Pacific Defense Forces, and they truly are, because it's all the people that you see within the forces, the background people, the pilots and all that, they're all from these areas. So yeah, nobody's taking the lead on this one. It's humanity against kaiju. So,
well, the thing that sticks out for me most, and this is something that we joked about before, about there being, a lead female pilot, and, that it takes a American movie directed by a Mexican guy to have a Japanese woman be in control of a mecha. But it really can't be overestimated, like what a big deal it was the way they did Mako's character, because she is a strong female in every sense of the word. She's not there as fan service. She's not sexualized. She's not there as a love interest for Raleigh. She's, there to do a job. She kicks ass. She takes names. She's smart. She knows what she's doing, and she's qualified to do what she's supposed to do.
And she has a personal stake in the matter as well.
Yeah, and she has the biggest backstory of all of the characters. This whole thing of the kaiju killing her parents, and she gets raised by Stacker, and she wants to fight to get revenge for her family, and it plays out in such a harrowing way, this flashback that you see of this young girl who does a really good job of just coming across as completely terrified as this kaiju is chasing her through Tokyo, and you really see that sort of trauma and the effect it has on her, and how it's the driving force behind what she does.
How the scene is shot too, man. When you see the fact that the camera stays on her quite a bit, down on her level, and how the scale, they purposely mess with the scale on you with that scene where it's just an overwhelming experience for her to be involved with that.
And she's got her back turned to the kaiju, like that somehow makes any difference. Mm-hmm. And she's just so scared, and she's still holding on to that little shoe that she can't put on. And then the moment after that, when it gets beaten, and you see her walk over to the Jaeger, and I don't know about you guys, but this to me was such a Gundam 00 moment.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
When Stacker gets out of the Jaeger, and she just looks up at him like,
and the sun's shining behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely Setsuna.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, her inner thought was, I must become Jaeger.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's all from her perspective, so people are like gawking at that scene. It's like, it's so corny how this light's behind him. It's like, yo, this is from her own memories. So if that's how she sees Stacker, with that golden ore around him, is because she looks up to the dude, and it's just based on her, her impressions about that whole moment in her life. So if it plays out that way, it's a very visual movie, and you can, from that scene alone, you can tell with the colors and all that stuff too. It's pretty amazing, and it's a very, very good scene where they show her origin.
Yeah. I also like the idea of how the two pilots that are needed to operate a Jaeger, they have to do this thing called drifting, and not the initial D kind. And that to be able to work together, their thoughts have to be in sync, and it usually requires a very close bond. So we see that like in the prologue with Raleigh and his brother. We see the Russian pilots who are husband and wife, the Chinese triplets who are all brothers, and the Australian team who are father and son. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting dimension, that you have these people who basically are new typing, because, this puts you in somebody's mind, and you see everything they see, you feel everything that they feel, and it's a connection that's like so close and intimate, that's so different from anything else that people normally experience in life.
Yeah. When Raleigh brings up the fact that when his brother was torn from him, part of his brother's still inside of him, because of the fact that they were still drifting together when he got killed. And so, there's a kind of an after image of his brother inside of him, which is really, it's spooky, but at the same time, it helped to develop him as a character as well.
Which is also kind of creepy when you think about it, because what's that like to be alive and yet feel what it's like to die?
Yeah.
And then have that feeling be your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that one of the questions we always saw, like in UC Gundam with Armoro and Lala and all that? So
yeah,
I mean, I guess it's the closest thing we have to that. So in this type of form. So anything else, Chris, about the plot before we move over to Soulbro?
Not for the moment.
All right. Any other plot points that Chris didn't mention, Soulbro, that you were interested in or kind of stood out at you?
Well, I know a lot of people complained about Charlie Day playing Dr. Newton Geisler. They thought
that's
he was kind of hamming it up. Yeah,
that's a character, not a plot point.
But
we'll get to characters.
All right. Well, damn.
We'll get to characters.
Outside of that, Chris raised a lot of good plot points, so we'll move on to the next thing.
Well, we won't yet, because there's a couple that I noticed. Yes, I'm just going to reinforce. I know Soulbro had talked about, and both Chris had said the the quick synopsis that we have at the beginning of the movie, and I think that with this type of movie, it had to be done this way, because this was pretty much a one shot, and I think it did help. Going with that type of thing, because how many of these movies have we seen where oh, this is humanity's last gasp, but it's really just an origin story, or it's just we got to end up winning the first battle. So I like that.
Even then, a movie that's not about humanity's last stand, but a movie that assumes it'll have sequels and leaves things undone, like say John Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll certainly adapt these other frickin' Mars books. Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So
in another lifetime.
I like that. It is interesting that you talk about Mako and or Mako, and that there is a connection between her and Raleigh, and they do care for each other. And there's there is a little bit of humor when they go to the Hong Kong base, and there is some sexual tension when it comes to just physical attraction and stuff like that. But then it's just like Chris had said, where we have this kind of new typing thing where in Gundam we always had it where people get to know each other, but not necessarily in the way that we always think of a love as like physical love or normal love that we can understand, but more on like a mental and a very a soulful way. That's the same kind of thing that we get here, because there is a connection between them. I can pretty much say that they love each other, but it's not like a love of what we always think of it. It's not romantic. It's not like, at the end, no, everybody's got to kiss and, we won.
Don't, which is so good that they don't kiss.
Yeah, I was so glad to see that. Yeah. As much as I don't mind that in a long form story, this is so like, this is like the beginning chapter in their lives. So, for them to kiss would be kind of going a little overboard in regards to their characters.
And actually, Del Toro said in an interview that they shot 3 different versions of that scene, one of which was where they kissed, and he just thought doesn't work, so he went with what they went with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'm glad he did.
Yeah, because you would think in this situation it's not going to be that's not how you're going to end it. I mean, these people went through, basically life and death with each other and had seen things. And the only other kind of plot points that I did like is I liked the fact that you had I think I called them general earlier, but there's kind of when it comes to the Pan-Pacific forces, it kind of seems like rank is not really a big thing. It is, but it's just like he's they call him Marshal Stacker Penagos, and all the pilots were called Rangers, which I thought was very interesting because it's a lot different than what we think of a Ranger when we think of it in our our real life times. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. And probably the last thing would be just the point where the Jaeger program's getting canceled, or getting its last little bit of funding. And that's with the big where Stacker scenario, he's having to talk to all the representatives of all the different countries and having to hear all their little things, and seeing that even though this doomsday apocalypse is about to happen where humanity can be wiped out, these politicians and stuff, they're still just worried about funding and results that that they expect outside of the results that you get, and not really realizing what's going on. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So but yes, that's good on the plot. Next thing, we'll just go hit a little bit on some of the characters. Solbro, just give us some quick little things, some of the ones that stand out most to you.
I was a big fan of Charlie Day's character of Newton Geisler, the doctor. Both of them actually, they were kind of over the top, but he helped to save the day with drifting into a kaiju brain. That was a pretty interesting scene for the fact that he didn't realize at the time that when you do that, you not only share information with the kaiju brain, you send information to the other side, which Ron Perlman's character, what's his name? Hannibal Chow. Oh my God, that guy was the man. When he made the realization that, you just gave information to the kaiju.
Yeah. Except that he pulled like the freaking Sam Jackson of, don't stand and pontificate in the background, because then some monster is going to eat you.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
He did get Sam Jackson.
Don't ever do that. Always pontificate in the foreground, away from the creatures or the water or the whatever.
aside from his character, Herc Hansen was a character that I don't know if a lot of people would notice, but the father of the two Australian pilots, he was the shit, man. I didn't realize that the movie would be setting him up to end up being the heir apparent to Stecker Pentecost's character, but I enjoyed his character, all the scenes that he was in.
He was an Australian bro.
He was the man. Like Australia came through in this movie in a big way. His son was a real prick, but he even came through in the end. But Herc Hansen, man, one of my favorite characters in this movie. But
well, his son was just was your typical
hothead,
egotistical pilot, like and of course we see that when Raleigh comes in. It's like, hey, we've been doing this for how long, and you're bringing this guy that got washed out and some woman that's never piloted, so. You could see why he'd be like that.
True. And shout outs to Clifton Collins Jr. At this point, I think he's played every race. All the movies he's in. In this one, he was playing a Chinese American Jaeger technician named Chendo Choi, and it was cool to see him in this movie. Be the guy behind the guy in the operation room. But outside of that, I enjoyed Raleigh Beckett, Charlie Hunnam's character. I thought that he was serviceable, and his character embodied a lot of main leads from different mecha animes as well. And of course, Neo talked about Idris Elba earlier. Impeccable. Watching his character in this movie. And Mako Mori she didn't have a lot of lines, but in her actions spoke a lot. So I thought she did her character justice, and she was every bit as strong as a lot of female characters are in anime and not in American movies. So it was good to see that and see her embody that character.
Well, Chris, what were some of the standout characters on your aspect of?
Well, obviously,
watching?
of course. Stacker Pentecost, because Idris Elba just kicks ass at everything that he does. I mean, that guy could just sit by a fireside smoking a cigar, reading the yellow pages, and I'd be enthralled.
And I think what makes it really nice in this is because usually when we see Idris Elba in movies and American television and stuff, he's hiding the accent. Oh, yeah. And this one, it was like, I don't know if that's how he really speaks or if he was overselling it or what, but I mean, that's
his regular voice. And the thing is, that was part of the reason he was picked up, because Del Toro watched Luther and saw him in that, which he's great in, by the way. So if you haven't seen Luther, which I have mentioned before, get on Netflix and watch that damn show right now.
I recommend it as well. It's awesome.
So he saw that, and I think to myself, thank God they did not go with the original consideration of Tom Cruise for this role, because that just would have changed this whole movie.
Oh no,
would have been bad.
Not that I don't like Tom Cruise, but goddamn, Idris Elba really makes this role.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, I'd rather see the role go to Elba mainly because of the fact that he has a presence. Tom Cruise does too, but he would want more. He would want more command of the of screen time in the movie, and
that too.
It would have changed the dynamic of this film completely.
And in every movie, does some white guy always have to be in charge?
Exactly.
Like, can't we just have a little bit more diversity here? And I'm glad that it was Idris Elba, because he's not in the spotlight enough. So that was good. And, Mako, I think, really just makes this movie because, she has such a good backstory of wanting to get revenge, and, she has that pain in her background, and obviously Raleigh does too. He has this pain of having lost his brother, but, this is the driving force of her life because she wants to be Jaeger. Yeah. But she does it. She doesn't fail like Setsuna. She becomes Jaeger.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And she proves everybody wrong.
Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else?
Well, this definitely it's not character, but although you could say so, because the Jaegers are sort of like characters in and of themselves. But what you see throughout these battles, particularly the prologue and then the Hong Kong battle, it really gives you a sense of scale of these robots.
Oh yeah.
When you see that opening battle and the aftermath, where you just got like this guy and his kid walking around in the Alaskan snow, and then the Gypsy Danger just comes stumbling into the shot, and it just collapses onto its knees right around them. It's like, damn, this is one gigantic robot.
Yeah, tell me about it. When they're fighting in Hong Kong and they're just crashing through buildings. Hell, it's the scene where the kaiju takes them almost into the atmosphere. And then they bust out the sword to destroy it, and then they have to make that landing, and they have to land inside of that stadium. You could just the level of damage that's just laid out in this film is pretty amazing, but it makes sense in the context of the film. And
I will admit that I freaked out when that kaiju started flying and dragging Gypsy Danger along, and then they unleashed a sword. And I was like, "There's a sword too!"
Yeah. Oh my god, dude,
that was a big deal.
The musical cue during that scene too, when he broke out his wings and that monster movie music started playing, it's like, wow, this is getting insane.
And then there was a rocket punch, and there was the whole also giving you a sense of scale that Gypsy Danger is grabbing shipping containers and just using them as sort of brass knuckles.
Hell yes.
Or, of course, swinging a freaking ship around as a baseball bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The Louisville Slugger technique.
Yes.
Which didn't really work that well. I mean, it wasn't as effective as you thought it would be.
But it looked cool,
it looked impressive. Oh, yeah. Oh, it looked cool as shit. Yeah. Yeah.
It was satisfying. That's all I know.
I was satisfied by its effectiveness.
Woo!
So, anything else with any characters, Chris?
I do have to wonder, though, since you, Sobro, had mentioned Charlie Day before getting cut off by Neo, can Charlie Day play any other character type other than Charlie from It's Always Sunny?
Oh.
This is not a knock. I'm just curious because
it's very interesting because I actually listened to an interview with Charlie Day, and he doesn't do auditions. He basically says, I'm through with that process. Before he got It's Always Sunny, he'd been on thousands of auditions and he just got tired of the process. So basically, he'll get jobs that are offered to him and they want him to be pretty much Charlie Day. So for the most part, any movie you see him in, he's not really trying to play anything else besides what is in his comfort zone from his own admission. But they picked the right actor for that character. I think he knocked it out the park as that doctor. Out of context, when you watch those clips, it's like, man, he's really hamming it up. But when they introduce him and you get used to his character, it fits the mold of the film.
Well, it also goes worth mentioning that on YouTube, there's a clip called It's Always Sunny in the Pacific Rim.
Oh, yeah.
Where they mix footage from Pacific Rim and It's Always Sunny with the opening credits style of It's Always Sunny, as if it were an episode called Charlie Builds a Giant Robot.
It's awesome.
So if you've watched the show and you've seen the movie, watch that clip because it's hilarious.
It's very funny. If anything, I couldn't stop watching it when I first got it introduced to me.
All right. Well, anything else on any of the characters, Chris?
No.
All right. And yeah, on my side, when it comes to some of the characters, I agree with everything you talk about Idris Elba. I think the one thing it also makes it sells a lot better, and it's funny that you brought up, Tom Cruise as the original thought, is the fact that Idris Elba, not only does he have presence when it comes to, speaking and everything, but the guy's a big guy. Mm-hmm. And you can see that he's a large person, and it gives you that kind of satisfaction and kind of that, saying, oh, this guy, we know this guy's in charge.
Because, well, he carries the authority.
Yeah, I mean, not only just in what he's saying, but just how big he is. And it's, he's one of these guys where it's like, hey, you're going to mess with me and start getting nasty. I'm going to tell you what's up. And, if you want to go toe to toe, we can do that. And that's kind of the aura that he gives off in there.
Well, especially like in that scene when Raleigh grabs him and he's like, number 1, don't ever touch me again. Number 2, don't ever touch me again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sir. Understood.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'd have to say outside of that, of course, I don't think much can be said about Raleigh and Mako, but I know we talked a little bit about the scientists. I actually think that having both those guys, though, I like them more as the whole instead of one or the other, because one's like, you got to be careful. He's kind of like the straight man. And, the other guy's like, oh, we got to, stop doing what we're doing because this is the only way that we're going to beat him. And, so it was kind of, that was a nice little thing to see. And especially like after, Charlie Day's character merges with the kaiju. And the other doctor's like, he was just kind of surprised that it worked. And then, and then of course they find out the revelation that, it worked. It worked a little bit too well. So, but so pretty good along on the character front. And I guess now we'll just kind of go into some, we haven't talked too much. We've talked a little bit about it. I know Chris talked about it, but some of the action and some of the things that we liked and what we didn't like with Pacific Rim. So I guess the first one here would be Solbro. some other things, some of the action, because we do have the final Hong Kong battle that you guys talk about. But anything else that kind of stood out for you? And that including talking about the Jaegers and stuff. So definitely put them in there too. Some of your impressions and thoughts about them.
Well, definitely the best set piece in that movie to me is the Hong Kong fight from start to finish. We have the Russian Jaeger. It was called Cherno Alpha. Mm-hmm. And you also had the Chinese Jaeger. They both go out there to take on the kaiju, and they just get their ass handed to them, not only by one but two kaijus. Once the ape-like one shows up and just double teams the shit out of Cherno Alpha, it's like, man, this is looking really grim. But just how the brutality of that fight was just depicted on the screen was really well done. I got to give it up to the special effects team that worked on this movie, because you can see every dollar on the screen when you watch this film, without a doubt. It had a high price tag, the budget of this movie, and it's clear where it went. Outside of that, the final scene underwater where they go to the rift in order to destroy it, it's a tearjerker a little bit because of the sacrifice that's made, and I really enjoyed how that played out. It's definitely a send up to a lot of mecha anime, especially with the pineapple salading that happens in that scene. But just the way the scenes were orchestrated, man, it was just really very well directed.
You thought of mecha anime at that point? I screamed Independence Day all day.
Yeah, there are Independence Day moments in this movie too.
that scene,
without a doubt,
Independence Day minus the G4 Mac.
Yeah, so. But I mean, a little bit. There's one moment that I didn't notice until I saw the movie the second time when I was in San Diego. When Stacker Pentecost blows up him and the young Chuck Hansen, they blow up their Jaeger. Right before they blow up, Mako says, "I love you" in Japanese to her father. Like, I completely missed it when I watched it the first time, but she says it in Japanese. They don't even subtitle it. If you don't know Japanese, then you won't know what she's saying, but she says, "I love you" right before his Jaeger blows up. And
I knew that one day all them years of watching that mecha anime would pay off.
I was like, wow, that's really heartbreaking, because she's really in pain because her father's dying, is going to die, and it's a pretty much a brutal situation for them, and it's left on their shoulders in order to do the final task, which is to destroy the rift. Now they know that now that they know their way in. So just the escalation of that it's something you see in something like Independence Day, where the two crazy scientists figure out how the alien's weakness, and then it's up to the people on the field to do that.
I'm talking the whole filming of that, just reminding me of that, like, hey, we're finally in. Oh, let's set off the bomb.
You're not the only person who's made that comparison, but
at least no stupid Mac viruses were involved.
Thank you. Just sweat, blood, and tears, and it was great.
Well, I'm gonna upload the virus on this 1997 Macintosh here. That I figured out that it infects these super advanced alien computers. I don't even know how they work, but I'm just going to use my little virusy thing and upload to the interwebs, and there we go.
Hold on, I'm having trouble connecting to AOL.
I'm just glad this movie. I'm just glad this movie.
Let me start my CompuServe disk here and upload this virus.
CompuServe.
I don't know what the password is for this alien firewall, so I'm just going to type "let me in."
I'm so glad this movie was not directed by Roland Emmerich. That's all I have to say. But the set pieces were satisfying, every last one of them. And I'll pass it back to Neo so that we can talk more about it.
Chris, anything on any of the action, Jaegers, kaiju that's kind of stood out for you on this?
Well, I definitely enjoyed the brutality of the start of the Hong Kong fight when you had the two kaiju appear, because all of these pilots are only used to fighting one kaiju at a time, and each time they do, they barely survive. So having to fight two simultaneously is crazy. I would have liked to have seen the Russians and the Chinese do more before they get taken down, and maybe there's some deleted scenes on the Blu-ray that extend that fight that they had to cut for time. So
I certainly hope so.
I'm hoping for that. So it would have been nice to also know a bit more about those two teams, because they're just sort of there in the background and they get killed. So I would have liked to have seen them do some more so that their deaths meant a little more.
Yeah, because they're just cannon fodder at that point. Yeah.
The most you get to know about him is pretty much their body language and the things you see in the background of the movie. There's certain moments where you see the actual pilots in the background and they're doing certain things, and that's pretty much all you get to know. They don't really have much dialogue, save for the Russian woman and in the scene where they're piloting the Cherno Alpha, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So anything else, Chris?
No.
Yeah, I actually got to second you on that, especially with the Cherno Alpha, because it was the older type. It survived a lot of battles, and it was very heavily armed, and it did just seem like it just got its ass handed to it, very quickly. And I mean, you kind of understood that those pilots and those those Jaegers were going to go, but it was definitely, it would have been definitely nice to see some other things develop a little bit more there. But I will say, when it comes to the action, as much as that is the final battle, the Hong Kong action, I do like the opening battle with Raleigh and his brother, where they're so. The Jaegers have been doing so well against the kaiju, because this is right before the kaiju really start to adapt and really start putting it to the Jaegers. And I mean, they get the alert and they're like talking crap. They got their fancy little matching bomber jackets on, and of course they disobey orders because one of the captains from the Deadliest Catch is out too far, and they're worried about losing these guys at sea, and it's like they disobey orders and go out where they shouldn't, because they're supposed to stay towards shore and protect the city. Which I kind of didn't understand how the sensors of the radar didn't pick that up. That was one thing to me that was like, wait a second, they got all this technology, but yet they're telling Stecker, oh, they moved out. Oh, when did they do this? Well, we don't know. It's like, oh, okay, that's kind of dumb. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. And I will second with Chris the brutality of all the fights. The fact that we have giant robots really fighting for the most point hand to hand, and really kind of accentuated it, because we don't have too many of these suits outside the Striker Eureka that has real long range weapons, and I guess the Gypsy Danger with those plasma cannons, but it takes a while for those things to charge up and stuff. So that was pretty nice to see. So guys, before we go into final impressions and ratings, I know, Chris, you had mentioned a few things that you weren't too happy with. I kind of said a few on my own. Soul Bro, do you have anything that you wish could have been done a little differently, or maybe if they do a sequel that you'd like to see?
I've heard some rumbling about some rumors for the sequel, but I won't get into that here. I will say that I think the movie is good as a standalone. If they did do a sequel, I would welcome that. Maybe it could be a completely different concept.
Right. I'm not. But I'm really asking: is there anything that was in the movie that really you weren't, because you were mostly
you asked me about a sequel too, so I was just covering that right off the bat. But as for anything I wasn't satisfied with, just the fact that the other pilots didn't really have much verbiage, didn't really get a lot of time on the screen to express their personalities. Something with if it was a longer form series or something like that, we'd probably get the chance to see that, and I understand the reasoning why we didn't really get much from the other pilots, but I would have liked to have seen more from the other pilots. That's probably the one takeaway I would say about this movie.
Okay, Chris, anything that, in addition to what you had said earlier, that you'd like to see happen, or maybe something if they do a sequel that maybe they could change up, or outside of what you said?
Well, it does a lot of world building for a movie that's barely over 2 hours. So for its flaws, I'm a little more forgiving of it, because it has so much to do in so short a time, because there was never any guarantee of this movie's success or there being a sequel. So, I'm glad that it does as much as it does to tell its story, but it definitely would be nice if there's a sequel to see, even more about what these other teams do and get more background on them, aside from just obviously your main team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And yeah, I'd have to kind of agree with both you guys on that. If there is one thing that is kind of lacking, is the other pilots, and especially with the final deaths and stuff, it would have given you a little bit more emotional attachment. So, all right. Well, I guess we will go to final thoughts and ratings. Chris, we'll go to you first. final thoughts and your ratings on the MAHQ scale for Pacific Rim.
Go see this movie if you haven't seen it. Go see it again if you have seen it. Pre-order the Blu-ray. And also, for God's sakes, if you're one of those people who says that this movie is a ripoff of Evangelion, shut the hell up. You are a moron.
Thank you.
And clearly you have not ever seen any other anime or any kaiju movies, because little bit of education for you. Kaiju movies and giant robot anime existed long before Evangelion was ever shat upon the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I mean, if you're going to go that route, there's quite a few animes, and one in particular that Evangelion borrows heavily off of. So, you know, hey.
And I was sad to see even Amanda Wynn Lee on her Facebook page say that Pacific Rim ripped off Evangelion. It's like, oh, come on, why would you say that? Come on, I like you. Don't say that.
It's just ignorance, man. People weren't willing to give the movie half a chance. They're either calling it a Evangelion ripoff or a Transformers ripoff. And
if you're all of these like knuckle dragging troglodytes that are on Twitter who are like, it's just a ripoff of Transformers. Hey, idiots. There are more robot series in this world than just Transformers.
Exactly.
Please beware of this. And, any Gundam fan from the early 2000s can sympathize with my pain and the pain of this of, that's that robot. Oh, that's a cool looking Transformer. It's a freaking Gundam, you moron. Oh, yeah. What's that Transformer's name? Is it in the old cartoons, Optimus Prime? It's a Gundam. It's not a Transformer.
Yeah, pretty much.
So please, if you're an anime fan, this movie's not a ripoff of Evangelion. If you're not an anime fan, it's not a ripoff of Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
It is a love letter to all of these genres of mecha and kaiju. Please be aware of this.
Absolutely.
And please shut up. Again.
And go see the movie so you can finally find out exactly what it is like.
Shut up and go see the movie.
Yeah, I always find it funny with anime fans when they talk about something's a ripoff of something else. Rich
itself copies things from other stuff.
Exactly. If I was to say this movie had a lot in common with something, it reminded me a little bit of Die Guard as I watched it. Only because of certain raw elements. It's not a ripoff of Die Guard. It's just certain things about the movie reminded me of Die Guard. And Die Guard gets its inspiration from shows that preceded it. So, other than that, everything influences everything.
I've seen so many stupid things, like people doing their little teardowns, like, Stacker has, like a father-daughter relationship with Mako, and he brings Raleigh back in because he's in the pilot, which is just the same as Gendo and Rei and Shinji. It's like, oh my God, no, It's not.
And so she's a clone then.
So, because clearly, a guy having a protective surrogate father relationship with a young woman has never been done in any story anywhere other than Evangelion, right, guys?
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand people's thing. I mean, and again, as Neo pointed out, Ava had to be based on something as well.
Yeah. So,
do your homework before you open your mouth. That's all I can say.
Well, I would say do your homework and still don't open your mouth.
I would just say stop living in a bubble. I mean, there's very rarely are you going to find something that's completely original at this point. I mean, sorry, but most everything's kind of been done. So.
And Guillermo del Toro also talked about when they were making this movie that he wants influence from anime and kaiju movies, but they never want to discuss reference when they're making the movie. They don't want to say, well, this is from this and that's from that. They want inspiration, but they never want to come out and cite exactly what they're being inspired from. That's
for the fans to see and for the fans to decide.
Exactly. It allows us to decipher what this movie's supposed to be like, or what it's analogous to. So, if anything, I appreciate that about the film, and it's up to us to interpret it whatever way we want to.
So on a scale, on the MAHQ scale, I will give this 5 out of 5 stringer bells, and I will say in closing, with all due respect to Lord Bay, I will say that as a live-action mecha movie, Pacific Rim, outdoes all three of his Transformers.
And it's raised the bar, so I hope he's up to the task to make Transformers 4 on the level of this film.
And who are you talking about? Yeah, he's on the task. What do you think? Because let's just put a.
Hey man, I'm hoping I'm wishing all the best for him.
Hey, he dumped Goof LaBoop, so he's got that working in his favor.
There you go.
Started it up with Transformers, so there you go. May not be a Pacific Rim if there's no Transformers 1, so. But Solbro, final thoughts and ratings of Pacific Rim.
My final thoughts is this is an outstanding film, the blockbuster of the summer. When it comes down to the music, the direction, the visuals, all great. I can't encourage people to see this movie enough. Definitely go out there and check it out, whether it be a matinee or a full-time showing. I haven't seen it in 3D, so I can't speak for that. I heard it's kind of dark in 3D. So if anything,
it is.
So if you see it in 3D.
By the way, Solbro, a little grammatical nitpick. When you say you can't recommend enough for people to see it, it means you can't recommend enough for people to see it.
My bad. That is a common foolish statement. So I can only
kind of like irregardless.
Yeah. I recommend it so highly. Out of all the movies you can see this summer, see this one. Right off the bat.
Only see one movie
this summer. Go see this.
In a world where kaiju run free and robots fight them.
Going back to something that Neo had asked me earlier, I don't want to see a sequel to this more than I would like to see an OVA series or something that would serve as a prequel to Pacific Rim. Maybe.
Did you say Pacific
Rim? Pacific Rim.
It's not like you said Pacific Rim.
Yes.
Is that the title? Is that the title of the OVA? Pacific Rim.
Pacific Rim. There you go. That we're writing it out right now. I would love to see something that would either be an adaptation of Year Zero or something that just that fleshes out the 5 minutes of exposition that we got at the beginning of the movie into more of an OVA series. I would love to see that, especially since Japan is actually taken to this movie pretty well. So maybe we'll get something along the lines of that. Maybe we won't. But
Japan's
as for my rating,
to it. What do you mean? At this time, Japan hasn't seen this yet.
No, but certain people in Japan have seen it, and a lot of big time creators and whatnot have seen it.
Hideo Kojima, yeah, we know about that.
He's not the only person who's seen it. But anyway, my rating for this movie is 5 rocket punches out of 5.
All right. Well,
and maybe if it does well, we'll see Pacific Rim.
Indeed.
Unless that's done by Asylum, right?
That could be the Asylum sequel, Pacific Rim.
And if you go with that Asylum, we're going to sue you because that's our intellectual
title.
Yeah, we copyrighted that first.
We copyrighted that, yeah.
Nice.
My last thoughts of this is, it really, the movie couldn't do any more than what it did for, what was shown. Completely happy with it. Definitely like the way that they did the pacing, the robot battles, the integration of the multinational cast, and actually for once utilizing people that really aren't very well known, so that really worked out to its advantage. And I think even if quote unquote these people come cheaper, it's just the fact that the casting was done very well. It seemed like most of these people fit what their character types are, and after I saw this, if Guillermo del Toro or the people that are involved with Pacific Rim, especially on the technical side, if they're involved, I can definitely greenlight a Mobile Suit Gundam movie. Probably more specifically like a Gundam Wing. I think if you did a Gundam Wing type adaptation and it was done with this type of cast and all the kind of the parameters that they did, I think we could finally get the long-awaited hope and dream that everybody wants, is the live-action Gundam. So I would definitely sanction that. And for my final rating for Pacific Rim, i.e. The precursor to Pacific Rim, I will give it 3 pill-popping Stacker Pentecost, or I'm sorry, not 3, 5 pill-popping Stacker Pentecost out of 5. So, guys, anything before we go?
I will throw in also seeing everyone walking around in those awesome pilot suits makes me think, damn, I want to see someone make a good Mass Effect movie.
Yeah, they were Mass Effect looking.
whatever group worked on the wardrobe in this movie, hopefully they'll be involved with that if they ever make one. They did a damn good job, I gotta say.
But if you get a Mass Effect movie, the internet will be bitching to holy hell. So
indeed,
because they won't get it right. But so
hey, if they cast Idris Elba as Captain Anderson, I'm down for that.
There you go.
In lieu of Keith David.
There you go. Nope.
If you can't get Keith David, the next best thing is Idris Elba.
Idris Elba.
No problem.
Sign him up.
All right. Well, that was our review of Pacific Rim, the long-awaited robot vs. kaiju movie of the summer, directed by Guillermo del Toro. You're listening to Gundamn at MAHQ. We'll be back.
In a world where podcasting is king, you are listening to Gundamn at MAHQ.
I can't believe Game & More gave Gears of War 3 a 9.4. Ugh, those guys have rocks in their head. It clearly deserves at least a 9.6. Bro, why do you even care? Modern Warfare 3 is a far superior game in every way.
You guys are still playing with your consoles? You need to fully immerse yourself in true PC gaming.
Are you sick of nerd ragers making you feel like your games don't matter? Or do you feel like professional game magazines have sold out and only cover major releases? Sure you are, so join us here at secondopiniongames.com and let us make your video game conversations fun again. Our main podcast focuses on all gaming news, big and small. And don't forget our other podcasts where we talk about video game collecting, fighting games, the best games you never played, and other just mindless and mindful ramblings that entail what our main focus is. Let us be your first stop in Second Opinion. So stop by secondopiniongames.com. You can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio.
In a world where vivid flashbacks can strike without warning. In a world where a submissive adolescent must pilot a giant humanoid robot to save humanity. In the same world where a two-legged quadruped can run leisurely at the speed of sound with the aid of jewelry. Only one podcast can discuss this with their sanity intact. And this is Not That Podcast. www.SSAApodcast.com. The Ass Backwards Anime Podcast. Oh wait, I was supposed to use that voice in the beginning. Let's go again.
Hey, this is Stephanie Shea, and you're listening to Gundamn at MAHQ.
Welcome back to Gundamn at MAHQ, and we're going to jump into our second topic now, which is a discussion of the recently aired in Japan anime series Gargantia on the Verdurous planet. It was a 13-episode series that was produced by Production IG, directed by Kazuya Murata, and written by Gen Urobuchi. So, starts off with your basic sort of space opera story. You have a young pilot named Leto. He's part of the Galactic Alliance, and they're fighting these aliens called the Hideaus that are kind of seafood looking.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big, gigantic battle, and his commander, Krugel, tells him to pull back because they're retreating from the area, but he wants to keep fighting to, get his stuff done. The ships start warping out, and Leto gets caught up sort of in the backwash of that and blacks out.
Mm-hmm.
He then wakes up 6 months later, and he finds himself on a planet that's completely covered with water on a ship that's run down and full of primitive humans, or rather, primitive by his standards. And what he and his robot AI Chamber determine is that he's back on Earth, which humanity left behind long ago when it froze and was just presumed to be lost. But it indeed is not, and it's completely covered by water, and you have these fleets of people traveling around, scavenging up things from the ocean floor of the old civilization. Of course, you also have pirates attacking them and stealing things. And he's on a fleet called Gargantia, where he immediately kidnaps and then starts bonding with a young lass named Amy, forms a bond with her. So after screwing up and vaporizing a bunch of pirates, he agrees to protect the fleet in exchange for staying there. So he slowly is starting to get adapted to life on Earth, which is very different from life in the Galactic Alliance, which is extremely socially Darwinist, to the point that, you know, anyone who is sick or physically weak or who cannot contribute to the war effort against the Hideaus is euthanized and eliminated. And the entire civilization is built around just fighting the Hideaus. There's no concept of family, there's no concept of friends, none of these things. It's all, what can you bring to the war effort? And you fight until you are no longer able to fight, and then you're done.
Disposed of.
Yes, which is totally the opposite of the sort of very freewheeling, free-spirited communal atmosphere on Gargantia. And there's also a language barrier because the people on Gargantia speak a very primitive version of the language he's used to. So initially, you have Chamber doing all the translating for him because he has no idea what the hell people are saying, and when he speaks to them, it's very rough, but over time he starts to pick up their language. So a good half of the series is him slowly getting used to life on Earth and hanging out with Amy and her friends and interacting with people. But then he discovers that the Hideaus are on Earth underwater, and that sets him off back on his mission of wanting to destroy them all. And he ends up going off with a very rash scavenger named Pinion, who wants to get rich by scavenging advanced technology. They go on a mission because he will now destroy, with Chamber's advanced technology, all of these Hideaus. And he goes into this underwater complex and discovers some historical files and learns a very shocking secret, which is that the Hideaus are humans. And the way this worked out was that way back in the day, when Earth was on the verge of getting into another ice age and freezing, you had this advanced research complex where all these scientists were doing all of these things with no ethical or legal constraints, and they started to physically adapt humans for living in space. And this produced people of very different genetic structures and physical forms, and this was the birth of the Hideaus. And you had people who were completely opposed to this and fought against them, and as they left Earth and went out and started fighting in space, thus was born the Alliance and the Hideaus, and the Alliance has kept the secret ever since then. To make things even more confusing, right after that, a new fleet appears led by Stryker, the robot belonging to Leto's commander, Kugel. And he tells him that he's been setting up, you know, a new society on Earth, and he wants Leto's help. What Leto starts to see now, because of his time on Earth, is that Kugel has created a cult around him that worships Stryker, and he's just using these people as part of his cult. And now he wants to target Gargantia, which Leto is totally not down with. What he also discovers is that Kugel is actually dead, and it's just the AI Stryker going very far from its programming on its own.
Tomes.
And yes, totally Tomes. Having created this cult, so with the help of everyone on Gargantia, they fight off all of the cultists. Chamber becomes a bro and sacrifices himself to take down Stryker and save everyone. And in the end, Leto lives happily ever after with Amy and everyone else on Gargantia. So quite a bit of story to be packed into 13 episodes. So Nia, what were your thoughts on Gargantia?
Well, I came in this very open-minded. I had heard about a lot of good buzz about this. First off, watching it, just beautiful to watch. Production IG, so they always bring it. And what makes it even nicer is the fact that it's 13 episodes. So, there was probably a little bit more time, not as much time constraints, hopefully, and it does show. First thing is you're kind of getting into this. It's like, okay, typical faceless enemy monster, alien monsters fighting some galactic alliance, Earth alliance, whatever type of alliance it is. And then, Leto gets trapped in that wormhole and then ends up on Earth. And from that point on, then it just kind of seems to become its own thing. Very interesting to see in that first half, like Chris had stated, the way that he is trying to at least just communicate with these people, because most shows like this, usually, even though it's the ancient world that humans came from, somehow they'd all be able to communicate with each other, no problem. But in this aspect, no. And he has to do it through chamber. And you just see how these people are in awe of him. And in a lot of ways, he's in more awe of them than they are of him, because we find out that, the Galactic Alliance, hey, they took what Britannia did and jumped it up about. They put it to 11 because it's really bad there.
Put it up to 11, huh?
Exactly. A little Spinal Tap action.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Well, it's better than my opening thing, because I was like, oh, man, the guy's name is Leto. Is he 30 seconds from Mars? Ha! No. I'll be here all week. Please try the Hideo. Or the whale squid.
Well, I tell you, I just flew in from Houston, and boy, my arm's tired.
Hey. But very interesting, and surprisingly as pretty and peaceful as it seems on Gargantia. Surprisingly violent out of just certain areas. That first thing, it's like, we're having these problems with these pirates, and you got this cool mecha. Maybe you could go and take care of them. Well, they didn't realize that taking care of them, it's like they thought they were just going to go rough them up. No, this was full on disintegration.
I mean, cremation.
Yeah,
it would make even Kira Yamato jealous.
Yeah, I mean he took him down, and that was interesting to see. The only issue that I had with it is a lot of the people outside of probably Amy, and we do tend to get this a lot of times in shows like this, is that as much as he was trying to understand them, because there comes a point where he visits Amy's sick brother, and of course in his world he wouldn't be living, and and stuff like that. You never get the fact that any of the other people really try to understand this guy. And a lot of the people in Gargantia, outside of the old captain that ends up dying, a lot of them just see him as, hey, this is this guy with this awesome technology. Let's just use the shit out of him and help him protect us and do all this other stuff. But then when he goes too far, we're just going to be, complete dicks about it. So that was one of the things I kind of didn't
That's
like.
the way it was at first, because they don't know him, and he's so weird. And, I think a lot of them start to open up to him. The one who just sees him as a tool to be used for most of the series is Pinion.
Yeah, Pinion. Yeah, that freaking idiot. So, what was it? Pinion of the Sea, Great Sea. Yeah, gotta say, and Chris, you forgot to do the spoiler from our legal department at the beginning of this, but yeah, the great
they can
twist
sue me.
of finding out what the Hideo are, and they go into great lengths in that episode in a pretty short time to really give you a great interpretation of what the hell happened. And you really get to see it is like, it's genetic manipulation gone awry. I mean, this is where
Blue Cosmos would just love to.
Oh yeah, Blue. I mean, and
they lose their shiver coordinators. The Hideows would all just die. They'd be apoplectic.
But you know what? Out of that little bit that we see, you can see more of the hatred of the people in general than you did in a lot of the seed, because this genetic manipulation, it caused these people to look different because they look like these weird plant squid things because they needed to adapt to going into space. Their theory was, we'll adapt ourselves to go into space because Earth's dying and all this stuff. And yeah, it was pretty damn interesting. And I wouldn't be opposed of like a spin-off movie or something like that, where maybe they just show kind of a little bit about that, because I just, in the end, really wanted to know, because come to find out, the Galactic Alliance higher up still kind of know that the Hideo, the information's there that the Hideo are former humans or are manipulated humans. So it's like, we're at this point, and that was kind of interesting to me. And yeah, then we have the of course tome clutching time, and it felt that way too. It's like you're watching it. His commander's only appearing to him as a hologram outside of Stryker, and he's saying, well, I got some bad disease and blah blah blah. And it's like, then they have the battle. Somehow Chamber rips the top of the cockpit off, and it's like, oh, he's dead, and he's been dead for a while. And then it's like, then I didn't know what to do, because I was cheering for Chamber, but Chamber's a robot to beat the other robot that was trying to. I didn't know what to do at that point. So,
did you feel very confused?
Well, I like how Chamber ended it. He just took both of them out, so that was nice. And then of course you have the nice little cleanup where Leto finally accepts that I am not going home, and continues his life on Gargantia. So yeah, definitely for 13 episodes was able to tell a very pretty deep and fruitful story. It's amazing that some shows take maybe 50 plus sometimes, and they can't even have a coherent statement. But hey, what do I know? Back to you, Chris. Nothing.
So, bro, your thoughts on Gargantia, which you streamed?
Yeah,
to the peoples.
I did. I like to say I watched it with a group. And shout out to everybody who watched the show with me, man. It was a fun romp. We were knocking out episodes as they were airing, and we'd watch them in blocks. But yeah, I was warned about Gargantia after watching the first set of episodes that people were complaining that it's like, oh, it wastes too much time on fan service, and it's too slice of life, and it's not the mecha driven series I was hoping it would be. And it's like, well, I'm all about slice of life personally, and I'm all about a change of pace, especially when it comes to formulaic things.
So sorry, Soulbro. I didn't mean to interrupt, but did you tell these people that they're idiots? Because Chamber was there most of the time. Yes, there wasn't mech on mech crime happening every episode, but they were doing, he was doing stuff, and then he got independent, and then there was the other mecha that they used that, whatever.
Well, the biggest thing I was warned about is that there's an information dump somewhere towards the end of the series, and a lot of people, it didn't sit with them.
The twist?
Yeah, the twist. And to me, I equate it to a lot of things you would see out of 70s science fiction, where you find out the truth behind a situation. Like Soylent Green is like the biggest example I could bring up, where you find out that Soylent Green is people, where you find out that the Hideos were people too. And, of course you knew this thing is coming. And when the other shoe drops, you have to process that. And I love that the show does that to you, even though it's a little later in the series than I would have expected to happen. When it does, it's very impactful. It kind of changes the dynamic of the struggle between Leto and the Hideos almost on its ear, like right at that point, because he's stepping on them inside of Chamber at that time, and you start to feel a little queasy when he starts to when after realizing this whole plot twist. What really hammers it home in that scene is when he grabs the female one that comes towards him, and Chamber
it's that
destroys
guy's daughter.
Yeah.
It's his daughter.
And then Chamber does the old Karu squeeze.
Woo, oh my God, man! Freaking calamari for everybody. But yeah, I like the pace of the show. I would like to have seen that the last arc of the series have a few more episodes than what it did. But outside of that, I liked Leto's development. I like the fact that he had to learn the language, that he had to get used to his situation, that he was a stranger in a strange land, even though he was on Earth. He never knew Earth. He never grew up on Earth, and all he was
this. Was he an Englishman in King Arthur's court?
There you go. Exactly.
Just one of the Soul Bro classics.
To see him develop from just a cog in the machine, becoming his own man, and finding his own soul it's a nice journey. That's the whole point of the show to me, is his journey for the most part. You know, finding out that he's just not another a cog in the machine. Hell, you find out
or another brick in the wall.
Another brick in the wall. And this is just my assumption, but I take it that people
morning Soul Bro assumption.
People like Leto, he's a clone, right? Because when you see his commander, when you see the visage of his commander, it looks like an older version of Leto, basically. And it makes me wonder.
Sort of. There's also that kid in the tube they keep flashing back to. It's like, is that his brother who also looks very much like him? And you know.
If anything, I'm thinking that there's just a line of clone soldiers that the Galactic Force.
That I'm not sure about, because there was that whole thing of like, you know, you've at the beginning when Chambers like, you've put in like X number of hours of service and you can go chill on like the colony and go reproduce and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if it might be a situation.
It might be a character design similarity.
Yeah, that might be all it is.
Or maybe because of the social Darwinism, the gene pool might be very interrelated.
Yeah,
that too.
You know, that would be the thing, because I would imagine we don't get to see it, but I would probably venture to say women in the Galactic Alliance are just baby making machines. I mean, that I would think.
They call so much out of humanity that there's not a very broad genetic base. If you know, they're doing things like euthanizing the weak and the sick, and you know, prioritizing fighting, and you have to presume so many casualties against the Hideaus.
The show takes advantage of people's what's it called, xenophobia, right from the get-go, because it's so horrific to fight the Hideaus at the beginning of the show that you're in Leto's corner when he says that I gotta kill all these bastards. And then when you find out the truth, it's like, oh my God, I gotta sit and think about this. You are the bastard. And it's like the hunter, you find out how much of a monster the hunter himself is, and he has to wrestle with that. And I like how the show addresses that. I also enjoy his interactions with the different characters. I look at all the cast in the show as rejects from Studio Ghibli, in a sense, because
Gurren
Lagann. It's kind of like a blend.
Yoko's sister was in this one. She
exactly. What was her name? Bellows. Hell yeah, man. If Bellows and Rackage, those two characters, man. Delicious. But yeah, they all the characters and all the cast in the show had a lot of character, and I love the designs. I and the fact that their dynamic with Leto was really special, and it's a heartwarming show. At least the first 60% of it before you finally get thrusted into the final arc of the series. I was okay with Pinion as a character. I think he's a knucklehead, but he ended up pretty well towards the end of the show. But
yeah, he made out all right, you know.
He made all right with two women fighting over him. Freaking Bellows and Rackage, come on now, or Luckage, whatever way you want to pronounce it. But I was a little sad that Amy, I guess the main female in this series, in the final arc, you didn't get to see much of her, because Leto and the fleet had separated from the main Gargantia fleet, so she was kind of left on the sidelines. You see her every once in a while, but there were whole episodes where she wouldn't show up, and you got really accustomed to her character, and I started to have Amy grow on me as well. So her absence was quite felt towards the end of the show, but I like the fact that she does play a part in the final solution.
The final solution. Oh my God. He didn't mean that, folks.
Final solution you are speaking of?
Nine.
The final set piece. But What was it?
Choose your words very carefully. Is that so, bro?
I didn't even think of that. Oh my god.
with you.
Oh my god. No offense
what's
to
your
anyone.
problem?
I didn't mean that at all. But
you're so crazy.
My favorite character in this. The Germans have shown up on Gundamn.
Yeah. Beat up in the house.
Where's the pummets for your monkey, Justin Bieber?
Oh my god. My favorite character in this series, though, without a doubt, is none other than Chamber. Chamber, by all means, is the greatest robotic wingman. He as we discussed on the stream, he's a robro. And he did his job well. And the fact that even he, as a machine, developed as a character, I thought was a nice touch towards the end, especially the very last shot of the show, where you see something very special. Which I certainly hope that if they do continue the show, that they find they bring Chamber back up. But yeah, for the most part, I really enjoyed the ride. There was a little bit of him left. I don't know if it's salvageable, but if anything, the mecha was still intact. So who knows if they ever do a follow-up. But I was satisfied with what I got. And even though at the end of the final arc kind of came fast and furious, I didn't really have a problem with it because all the previous episodes.
Fast and Furious?
Fast and Lion.
I didn't really have a problem with it because Leto's character, I think the episodes that they spent on developing him were well worth the time. And I really enjoyed the show as I watched it. But back to you, Chris.
Well, thank you for saying the same thing you just said 5 minutes ago.
Indeed.
In case people didn't know. So I enjoyed the series a lot. It's very different from what I expected going in. It's very light on the mecha combat, which I know some people complained about, but good God, if you need to see mecha explosions every damn moment, go watch something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can't we have something different every once in a while, people?
No.
Nice. No. So I enjoyed that. There's a lot of little touches that they put into this show that really help with the setting. Like at the beginning, when Leto's first on Earth, he's as white as milk. Yeah. And by the end of the series, you start to see that he's taken on a tan from the time he's been spending out in the sun with the people of Gargantia.
Exactly.
And there's also the language barrier because, when he speaks with Chamber, they're both speaking in Japanese. When all of the people of Gargantia speak to each other, they're speaking in Japanese. When he speaks to them at first, he's like blah, 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 blah. And they sound the same to him. And when he starts speaking their language to them, he's speaking very broken Japanese, like a non-native speaker. Mm-hmm. But then you start to see him improve and rely less on Chamber to the point that by the end of the series, he's just speaking normal Japanese to them, or rather whatever language it's supposed to represent. Mm-hmm. But it's just Japanese for the sake of the viewer. Yeah. So that was a nice touch. I liked his relationship with Amy because she was the first person he encountered and they sort of had this bond, and also how through her brother, he started to see how like the system he came from was wrong because this kid is smart and he loves building ships and he's a nice kid, and he tells him very bluntly, like, in my world you wouldn't even exist.
Yeah, that was pretty. That was a pretty big moment because he's just sitting there and you can tell he likes the kid, and then the kid brings up something. He's like, "Yeah, in my world you wouldn't be here," and he's just the look on her brother's face is like, what? It's like, yeah.
If you can't contribute, you ain't got no point in living.
Rich is a very interesting thing because you think of like all the limited resources and everything they have on Gargantia, you would think that they would have that, somewhat of that mindset too, but
they don't.
They really don't. Yeah.
And I like that it takes him a while to get used to how different life is, because in essence he's an alien to them because he just comes from such a different society and he holds on to it. And I like his debates with Chamber because at first Chamber's totally not down with any of what he's doing, and Chamber always like debates him logically, but he always has a point. in every argument that he makes. And you also see Chamber start to grow beyond his programming, but, you know, in a good way, because Chamber's a machine who's supposed to help his pilot achieve his mission, whatever that is. But he starts to see that there's more to that mission than just killing Hideaus, and he sees that Leto has had to adapt to that situation, and he's totally not down with Stryker going off her rocker the way she does.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I liked how, you know, he became a bro and stepped up because Leto went into the overdrive and was going to die. And you think for a minute, like, maybe he is going to die to take down Stryker, but then Chambers like, no, GTFO.
Yeah. You've done enough. You've done enough. It's, you know, and I think, you know, you talk about Chamber kind of have these realizations. It's almost like he had the realization of like, I can't really have a life here, but this guy can, and his thing is always to support the pilot. So it almost goes back to his programming.
Yeah, in the end, he fulfilled exactly what his programming was, which is to help the pilot succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And despite this show being 13 episodes, I like that we got some time for some other subplots, like Pinion's background, where his brother was killed going into that science complex, which was Hideao's nest, and, you know, the fear he felt at losing his brother and the rage he felt from that, and the way he just sort of covers it up by trying to act like, you know, the big dog, just being a rash, impulsive idiot. I like the subplot about how Ridget, who is the second in command of Gargantia to Fairlock, how, you know, she's very quickly forced to step up when he dies on her, and she's now the commander of Gargantia, which, you know, presumably she knew she was being groomed for, but was not expecting it to happen so quickly.
Yeah, because she was the daughter of the previous captain, right? The previous Commodore, yeah.
Yeah, and then also even things like, you know, I forgot his name, the ship captain who goes off to make a new fleet with Pinion.
Yeah.
Very quickly has buyer's remorse.
He sure does.
But then tries to keep things in order to counteract Pinion's stupidity.
Flange is his name.
Yes.
Yeah, Flange.
You know, he's not just some greedy bastard. You know, he wants to go off and, make money, but he's like, hey, let's not be stupid here. There's a smart way to do this, and you're being a freaking moron. Like, let's broadcast, don't broadcast to the entire world. Like, I'm Pinion of the Great Sea, and, you know, I have found the treasure of the ancients, and don't you dare come near me, because I'll blast all you bastards.
His tune definitely changed, especially when the cult showed up.
It's like, hey, you guys are part of this cult now. Let's start painting your face and get you a little gray robe and talking about how you can contribute, and, you know, hey, it's time to dump all of the useless people into the ocean, which was a really creepy scene.
What a terrible moment. But it's a great scene. I mean,
it's a great scene because it shows how Leto has gone full circle, because before in his world he wouldn't have flinched at that. No. But when he sees all those people willingly, like, sort of like going off into the carousel in Logan's Run.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they think they're dying for something, but it's really for nothing, and just willingly go and get killed by being dumped into the water. He's just disgusted by it, as he should be.
The first thing that comes to his mind is Bebel, Amy's little brother. Yeah, and it's seeing him being disposed of like that would drive him over the edge. So yeah, his disgust with it is a huge turning moment for his character in the show. Now, some people did have some complaints about the fan service in this series. They did have back-to-back a fake beach episode to get everyone in swimsuits, and then they had the barbecue,
the sort of festival, which had Amy and her friends doing all this sexy dancing, and some people were bothered by that. I wasn't bothered by that, because part of what they were doing there was showing Leto's first exposure to sexuality and physical attraction, which is something that he's not familiar with at all, living in such a martial, strictly defined world. What did bother me in that episode was the cross-dressers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because Japan, I know we've talked about this before, that you guys are kind of sexist and you're kind of behind on the issues about, you know, being gay and equality, but good God, guys, it's 2013. Having like really masculine men horribly dressed as women and looking like very obvious men is really stereotypical and kind of unfortunate that you still do that. So that was kind of a not cool moment.
Not a good look at all.
Not a good look. It's not funny. It wasn't funny 20 years ago. Still isn't funny now.
And, when it comes to the beach episode, they're on the freaking ocean. Like, it would kind of make sense that there would be, some time like that. It's one thing if they were, like, living in the mountains, and it's like, hey, let's go to the beach, like a lot of these shows do. I mean, in that beach episode really didn't bother me too much. And then when they were doing the festival, it didn't bother me because it was exposing Leto to something that he's not used to. And that's something that's like, because that's what a lot of that stuff was, just very alien things to him. And it was pretty evident as we watching these scenes, the focus is on him because he's sitting there kind of trying to, kind of process all this when it's going on. So.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, he's a fish out of water. So to see him get exposed to certain things is part of the journey of the show. And some people wanted to see that, I guess, move at a much faster pace than what it did. But I thought it was fine. Every episode, he developed more and more as a person. And that's the whole joy of watching the show is to see his growth.
Yeah, could definitely do though without those cross-dressing the stereotype of ugly men dressed as women, and all of these guys are always massive predators who will just tear to shreds any straight guy they come across.
Yeah, that was a little weird, especially when they're like, hey, yeah, go get that soy sauce or whatever that was, teriyaki sauce, whatever that sauce he had to go get. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So that aside, it is a minor detraction because it's only for a few seconds in one episode, but just one little minor blemish on an otherwise great show with really nice animation, nice soundtrack. Interesting little thing they do that I don't know if you guys noticed. In the end credits, when you see Amy sailing you see a boat and the sail, and while the credits are playing, the preview for the episode is displayed on the sail of the boat.
Yeah, it projected on there. Yeah, yes. I noticed that.
Pretty cool.
It's really nice.
Well, it breaks it up. I mean, you get tired of like,
next time on blah,
song,
blah, blah.
Yeah, song, next time, so.
I guess they decided to go outside the box on that one. But yeah, it was I didn't catch it on the first episode, but the second episode, when I saw that there, it's like, oh, that must be a preview for the next step, because that's new footage. And sure enough, that was the story.
By God, I was right.
By God.
So, brilliant. The story isn't quite over yet so far because there is running in Japan a prequel manga about Bellows' background, so that's something that can be checked out. Mm-hmm. There's also an OVA coming out on the last Blu-ray, and I believe that's sometime next month. And from what I understand, it seems like it's just like a random side story and not so much like a continuation after the 13th episode, but we'll see soon enough. And if there isn't any more of Gargantia, I'm happy with what we got. Sure, the episode count could have been a little bit higher on that last arc, but I don't feel like it was massively rushed to the detriment of the show, as happens so many times with these 12 and 13 episode shows. So I think they managed to tell a great story in the time they had.
Yeah, I'll be quite honest. I don't know if doing anything longer with his commander and striker would have added anything else to the story. I mean, I guess you could have had a few more things, but I was pretty good with it. I mean, I don't know. 13 episodes, it didn't bother me. I mean,
there's some other ancillary things. I'm glad that there was no understanding in this, the end of this.
Understanding.
No understanding. He mentions that there might be in the future, but there's no magical understanding just because it's the end of the show. And since it really is not important to the story, I'm glad that we didn't have any cutback to the space battle, because there's nothing important going on there, nobody important that we care about there. So that's something that'll just keep going and will sort itself out one way or the other. The important story is that on Earth, people found a way to coexist with the Hideaus and just live their normal lives.
Yep,
absolutely.
So definitely check out this series. don't know if it's been licensed yet for U.S. release. I believe it might have been. So if it has been, then please pick it up because it's a good series and
it has been. It was licensed by Viz Media.
Well, there you go. So pick it up from them, and maybe if we're lucky, they'll release the Bellows manga.
There you go.
I certainly hope so. I know you can watch the show if you haven't seen it yet. You can watch it on Crunchyroll or other means, but Crunchyroll is the way that Gargantia is available to people who want to check it out.
And I believe that will wrap things up. So let's close things out with ratings. Neil, what would you give this series on the MAHQ scale?
I would give it 4 crushed hoodie owl babies out of 5.
Stepping on them like grapes at a vineyard.
Yeah, and when you see this episode or when you see this show, you'll see that that's not as much to laugh at. It's a little bit more shocking than what you would think.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and Sobro, what do you give this series?
I would give it 4 super hot pirate babes out of 5.
All right, I will give it 4 carved Hideao's tooth flutes out of 5.
There you go. The Ocarina of Hideos.
Yes, the Ocarina of Hideos. So that will wrap things up. We'll be right back. You're listening to Gundam at MAHQ.
'Who shot you in the ass?
Who? That who will be you.
Me? I shot you?
Yeah.
I mean, I was shooting. Yeah, I did a lot of shooting. I mean, but I ain't saying I shot you in the ass. I mean, I ain't saying I didn't shoot you. But damn! Somebody shot you in the ass.
Tell me about it.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside on upcoming superhero movies.
Scott, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Why?
Because there is another movie that we must discuss.
Oh, what's that?
Man of Steel.
Oh, Man of Steel. Okay.
Wait for someone to say that.
Here's my thoughts on Man of Steel. It's Zack Snyder directing Kryptonian on Kryptonian violence. And as much as I'm annoyed that they're recycling a Superman villain we've already seen on screen, and that there are plenty of Superman villains we could talk about.
But he was the best Superman villain.
This is going to be the best Dragon Ball Z movie ever.
I have no frame of reference for Dragon Ball Z.
Please check our website at sbopodcast.blogspot.com.
Get rid of everything that creates hate, everything that helps make it grow.
Alright, everyone, this is Sil Ballsby, and you've heard about
Judo!
Judo Washita.
Judo and the Junkyard Kids. Well, this fall on WSBR, they're gonna be coming to your home.
Annoying pest!
What are you looking at?
You're being mean, Judo! Why won't you play with me?
Judo is under my control.
Join Judo as they go against all the wackiness with Mashima and the Junkyard guy, and you learn the little things in the end. That's it, this fall. Judo and the Junkyard Kids on WSBR for your DVR favorites.
Judo, you just watch. I'm gonna get you this time.
End of discussion. Debate is over. You will write a formal apology. I will what? A formal apology. You will kowtow. You will step and fetch. Frank, if you think you can get me used to it, it's the way of the world. If you're so hot on discipline, then damn it, start by accepting mine. Because contrary to popular opinion, I'm the head in charge. Come on, let's get something to eat. You really think you bad, don't you?
And cut my hair to the good Lord comes. And cut my hair to the good Lord comes. And cut my hair till the good Lord comes. Arrive upon the mountain just to see what we have done. Cutting my hair, cutting till the good Lord comes. I ain't open my eyes till we all walk free. I ain't open my eyes till we all walk free. I
Welcome back, everybody, to Gundamn at MAHQ. You're listening to episode 128, and in this episode, we had a ram banger. This episode, man, we reviewed the blockbuster movie.
What's a ram banger?
A ram banger? That's some street talk for you. We had a wild episode, and in this episode, we reviewed the motion picture Pacific Rim, not Specific Rim, as I said earlier. And also, after that, we also reviewed the 13-episode anime series of Gargantia on the Verdurous planet. And before we wrap this episode up, we got a few questions in the mailbag that we're going to address. I'll turn the mic over to our Postmaster General himself, Chris.
All right, our first question comes from that bastard Momaru.
Oh, long-time listener.
I won't forget what you did.
Oh.
You know what you did.
Oh, man. Was it Pundam?
Yeah.
Oh, man. The scars are still there.
He says, hi, yous guys.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I watched 5-Star Stories. What do you three think about the OVA? Does Latios confuse you with his androgynous beauty? Poor Vords. I rather enjoyed the anime and the rather genius casting of Ryo Horikawa, Loengram / Vegeta as Latios Sop. I think Chris may have mentioned why no other episodes were made because Nagano was unsatisfied with the adaptation and led to the nearly single-handed endeavor of Gothic Maid. No, I did not say that, so please do not attribute to me things I did not say.
Damn you about Pundam.
Yes.
Actually,
so,
like Pundam.
Nia, what did you think of 5-Star Stories, the OVA, briefly?
I thought it was good, and to be honest with you, I haven't seen it in a while, and I can't really remember too much. But I mean, I thought it was, it was enjoyable, and I know that we've actually discussed possibly doing it in the sometime near possible long-term future.
Yes.
So,
Sobro, your thoughts? 5-Star Stories.
5-Star Stories is a fun watch, man. Latios Sop, that's the first time I ever saw kind of a cross, not so much a cross-dressing character, but a androgynous character in anime like that. Way back in the day when I saw it when I was in high school. So I thought it was a girl, all up until the point where it was revealed that Latios is a dude. So if anything, that was an experience. But no, it's gorgeously animated, and I always thought it was one of the better mecha-related movies or OVAs out there. I recommend people to see it if you have the chance to.
Glorious 80s mecha animation.
Indeed.
And
yeah,
it's a good one-shot, even though it doesn't even cover all of the first volume, and it's a real shame that the entire series has not been animated, because if it was done like this back in the 80s, just would have been
nice,
glorious.
yeah.
I mean, but Nagano hasn't even finished the story now, so what do you expect? And our next question comes from listener Anomalia, who says, are there any plans to talk about the Magic Knight Rayearth manga and anime? I could see us reviewing the show in the future, possibly. I haven't watched it in a while, but no reason why we can't. We've definitely talked about the big other fantasy mecha shows like Dunbine and Escaflowne and even Broken Blade, so we should definitely hit up Rayearth at some point, but not in the near future.
My wife owns the entire series on DVD, so I've got it at my fingertips. I can actually watch it. I guess we'll have to put that on the docket for shows to review.
There you go. Next up, we have Nasty Nate, who says, did you fellows see the new clip for 8th MS Team? What did you guys think? I think it's pretty cool, but it's lame how many shots the Zeon get on the Gundam and it does not die. Yet one shot with the same type of weapon kills them in one shot. Well, I have in fact reviewed it months ago, which you might have seen on this website called mahq.net, so you should go check that out. As to your complaint about the Zeon shots on the Gundam's armor and the blah blah blah, have you ever watched Gundam, Nasty Nate? Specifically, have you ever watched
Gundam
Mobile
Wing?
Suit Gundam?
Or
Gundams do not die.
Yeah.
They have plot armor.
And it's called Gundanium.
I don't like it, but it's something that exists.
It's called a lot of different things. Titanium, Gundanium. Oh my God, some type of anium.
Jesus Yamato anium.
Yeah,
indeed.
Plot armor anium.
Yes.
Plotanium.
Amium. Yeah, it's, I don't know.
We also have some questions from our Australian criminal Mula Flagger, who says, "Hey, Gundam team, I'm going to try to keep this shorter and simple if possible.
Good luck.
After your discussion in episode 115 on editing/censorship in mecha anime, I actually did think of one other small block of mecha anime, which was on the time Sobro or Chris might be familiar with. Jim Terry's Force 5 block, which adapted these various shows. Star Avengers, aka Get a Robo G, Grandizer, aka UFO Robot Grandizer, Danguard Ace, and the original Guy King. I have only seen one VHS tape of the 3 episodes of Grandizer. It didn't seem heavily edited. Then again, I haven't seen the original Grandizer. There were small name changes. For instance, Duke Fleed is named Johnny/Orion Quest, and Koji is named Lance. So have you guys had any experience with it? That's all, gentlemen. Later from Moo, in case you didn't know.
I thought he was going to keep it short.
Well, it's not 20 pages long, so I guess that's short.
Short for him. Okay.
There you go.
And, well, this stuff was all before my time, so no, I've never seen any of this. I know of it, but I've never seen any of it.
I want to see it.
I've never seen them myself. I did hear that those got adapted, but I've never seen them.
Next, we have Yokozuna Bulldozer, who says, "Hello." Number 1. Think of one secret trauma that one mecha pilot of your choice would have but was never revealed in the show they starred in. One example would be Ko Uraki having to eat carrots carved in the visage of Gato and Nina during his incarceration. I would like to picture, for no reason whatsoever, Camille being deathly afraid of rabbits.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be funny.
Oh man, God, I'm trying to. I would like to see Laurent endure gender confusion after being made to cross-dress all the time.
Well, I think the gender confusion was on Gwen's part.
It was, but to see him suffer from it would be kind of comical as well. But yeah, Gwen had some issues that he needed to sort out.
I would actually like to see Armoro have a secret phobia of hair picks, so it would make him afraid to mess up his nice afro.
There you go.
Oh man, Afro Sheen. He should use it.
I did not think about that. I'm sorry. I replaced pick then Afro Sheen.
Yeah. Afro Sheen, man. Blowout comb, man. Good stuff, man.
Number 2. What are some unseen collaborations you guys would like to see within the mecha genre in terms of creators? An example would be Toriyama being the lead character designer for a new show while Tomino takes a director role. I personally think Obari teaming up with Hirohiko Araki of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fame will be awesome, giving birth to one of the most narcissistic looking mecha shows ever. Well, we know Sobro's answer already.
I would love to see that. I would. So that's my vote right there.
I'll throw out a random crazy one. Eiichiro Oda of One Piece, let him do a Gundam show.
Woo!
Why the hell not?
That would be cool, man. Pirate Gundam.
No.
Wait a minute, we already got that.
Crossbone. He knows about pirates.
Gomu Gundam, man. Let's go.
Lazy Misamoto Gundam.
That's not bad. That's not a bad deal.
With those crazy character designs. So you'd have like, the grandma and the grandpas and all that stuff.
Number 3. Time for a little bit of hating for you 3 gents.
Yay.
Which mecha would you protest against and show so much hate like never before, complete with angry protesters, rotten food, pitchforks, and for what reason? Well, I think for me it's obvious. Any mecha that's been soiled by Kyo Asuno, and for the reason simply because he exists and must die.
Damn.
Peter.
I would second that, but God, what mecha I would protest? Let me see.
I'd protest the strike freedom because it's broken tier. It's like you can't use that, man. It's too powerful, bro.
Yeah, I could probably go with that one too, but then I guess you'd have to apply the same thing on the turn A. So
I'd go as far as to protest
solves everything.
Exactly. Although out of the two, I'd protest the strike freedom first.
The one I'd protest, Bulamok Saman. That thing was just so goddamn ugly.
It was.
I mean, there's some ugly stuff out there, but damn, that thing was just, I don't even know I don't know what somebody was smoking or drinking when they made that thing, because that thing is just awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He also says in closing, P.S. Jackie Gudalian was the All-American racer who later formed a racing team with Heinel and the Cyber Formula OVAs, making sure Heinel's creations crash and burn during almost every race. I probably would, too, considering he's the only one in the race circuit driving a super speed motorcycle with training wheels on the sides amongst a legion of race cars.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I haven't seen that. It makes me want to watch that show again. Damn, Cyber Formula. Great stuff.
Oh, guys, we got a long one here.
All right.
It's from Anomalia, who says, I just finished watching Gundam Age and I wanted to add some thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Some thoughts or questions?
We'll find out. Number one, despite Kyo talking about how people should be able to understand each other, he never actually tries to understand anyone. Otherwise, he could point out stuff like how when one's country has people dying by the truckload, it's stupid to not try to negotiate a peace with your enemy and instead focus on revenge.
Point taken.
Number two, I think a lot of the plot could have been resolved if the series had been longer / less rushed. Some examples. 2A. One line of Zahart's in the penultimate episode about if my cause is no good, then what have I spent all this time fighting for could mean that the reason he went along with Ezelkant's madness is because to not do so, he would have to admit that he had wasted all of his life up to that point. But other than that one line, we never get any sign of that being the reason. 2B. The scene where Flit finally put aside his vengeance should have been handled differently. While his hatred remains, he should still acknowledge the fact that his vengeful actions are for himself and not for the people he failed to protect. And this then leads to him realizing that to either fire the missile or let the Vegan civilians die would make him the same as the people he hates. Flit would then save the Vegans, not because he forgives them, but because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
In case you haven't guessed by now, I think that unlike the Federation in Gundam Seed, who are supposed to be unsympathetic by design, the Vegans are clearly supposed to be sympathetic, but as you pointed out, the execution is lacking. Hence why I'm making some of the points I am. 2C, and this is the last one. I think that Asamu and Zahart's final fight should have been longer. That way we can have it be established that while Asamu has become a much better pilot, Zahart's far superior suit makes them essentially equal. Zahart's mental breakdown giving Asamu a slight edge that he can slowly take advantage of and use to win the fight. The fight being longer would help ensure there is enough time to show that Asamu gets a chance to show us how far his skills have come and just why he is a super pilot. Sorry about the length. I wanted to get this all down at once. Well, you'll at least get your final point there because the OVA retelling expands the final battle between the two of them. So there is that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to review it.
Oh, yay.
just saying.
Good times.
Not excited?
Moving on, we have a comment from Shinigami New Type who says, this isn't a question, just a comment. Sobro seems to get a lot of jabs from the other hosts of Gundam, and as it would seem, a few listeners. I realize these comments are in jest, but I just think it's important for him to remember that he has at least one listener who enjoys his input and quick sense of humor, and let me add that you're by far my favorite host.
Oh.
Keep up the excellent editing.
Well, thank you, sir.
But there's more.
Oh.
He says, only Sobro should read the comment below. I've done what you asked, Sobro. Now please let my kittens go.
Damn. You got trolled on your own compliment. Man gave you a compliment and then trolled you at the same time.
Oh, no.
Who is this person?
Oh,
Who is this poster?
Shinigami New Type.
I toast to you, son.
Hey.
That is I toast to you, sir. That is a amazing troll.
Yes, it is.
Kitten Apocalypse canceled. You'll get them back in the mail.
Poke holes in them. I mean,
in the boxes. We'll see.
Next, we have some questions from Gundam 420 who says, given the design of his uniform, do you think it's possible that Captain Otto was once a Titan's officer?
Wow.
No, I don't think so. I mean, just because he wears a dark uniform doesn't mean anything. We've seen bright and dark uniforms as well, and he was never part of the Tetons.
I think it was just a layover. That was the one cool thing about the Titans. They're like, yeah, these guys suck, but damn, they knew how to dress.
Boy, did they ever. Yeah, I don't think so either, but it makes you wonder who serves in the Federation after that point that used to be in the Titans.
You have to assume that most of the Titans either got vaporized by Grips 2 or were court-martialed afterwards. Because they're bad PR and the Federation wouldn't want to keep them around.
That's true.
Says, this question's for Sobro. What's your favorite of the Mega Man and Mega Man X series?
Oh, that's easy.
That's a good mecha anime question.
Oh boy. Mega Man 3 is my favorite, although Mega Man 2 has a special place in my heart of the Mega Man series, and Mega Man X, the first one, is my favorite out of all of them.
All right. He also asks, is it just me, or do the mecha designs in Advance of Zeta feel really out of place in the era of Universal Century that it's set in? Can I finish the question?
Sorry. I just... Go for it. Sorry.
I'm not saying they're bad designs, but a lot of them look like they belong in a completely different universe. Do you guys feel this way about any other mobile suits? I definitely do agree that they started off okay. You had some things like the prototype Hyzok and all of that stuff, but then they started getting kind of funky where it's like every damn suit in Zeta had some prototype version that the Titans were messing around with earlier, including a prototype Marasai, which made no sense at all because the Marasai was originally made for the Aug in Zeta and then given to the Titans to appease them. So why would Aug make a prototype Marasai for the Titans first? Doesn't make any sense. And then as it goes on, you get away from like the early Hazel, which is a really cool looking design, even though it's basically just a GM Quell with a Gundam head. And you start getting into crazy stuff like the TR6 Woundwort that looks nowhere near at all like it belongs in the Zeta universe. It looks like a totally different universe. So yeah, they really went really far off the line there. So I don't know what they were thinking with some of these psychopathic designs, but some of them are ugly and some of them don't look at all like pre-Zeta.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I could think is just because all of its prototypes and maybe they're just doing things to just see what can be done with the technology. That I guess that kind of makes a little sense. But yeah, I mean, some of them do look like they are way out of like you said, a different universe. But it doesn't bother me too much because I think of it in that aspect. I think about like probably after World War II when they started doing like jet airplanes and stuff, they were doing some crazy designs. So, Yeah,
but some of these are so far out there. It's like they don't even have like even the slightest resemblance to anything at all from the Zeta or pre-Zeta era.
I understand that. I'm just saying it doesn't. I agree with you, but it doesn't bother me as much because that's kind of the context I put it in. I'm like, maybe, but whatever. So, beans.
Sobro.
I agree with you on although I stepped all over you the last time, I agree with you on Advanced Zeta. As for do I feel about this way about other mobile suits, I actually turn to Zeta Gundam because I always look at the Zeta itself. Even though there's other designs from Nagano throughout the series, the Zeta kind of stands out. It kind of looks like it should be from a different show. It kind of looks like it should be from L Game more than it should look like it should exist in the Gundam universe. I'm glad it does exist in the Universal Century, but I don't think there's been a Gundam that's looked like the Zeta ever since it's come out. So to me, it stands out as a suit that kind of looks like it belongs in a different show almost. But that's just my impression.
All right. And he also says, this one's for Neo. Which mecha pilot do you think could potentially be a star in Michael Bay's next film?
Oh, shoot. Well, all the hot shots. Roy Fokker, Mulaflaga. Who else? Jamil Neat. I mean, I could just go on for days. Slugger Law. He'd become a mecha pilot.
How about Kamina from Gurren Lagann?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah. He could be in there.
What about Ozma? Does he count?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You could have him in there. Just no whinies. No, no Koaraki. Oh, definitely Judau and the Junkyard Kids.
Hell yeah.
I could see that in there. Who else? I'm drawing blanks right now. But most all cool pilots that I like could be in Serbay's next film. Yeah.
What about a
definitely.
man who is considered the most dangerous?
Who's that?
The man who is considered the most dangerous.
I'm blanking right now. What are you saying? I know you're trying to tell me something, but right now it's just not a good time. I'm having an issue.
Shar?
Shar? Oh, yeah, definitely Shar. Yeah.
No, most dangerous might be initialized as MD.
Oh no! Oh my God! Moving to the top of the list, right?
God. Serbay, green lit, Death Force. $300 million budget.
Oh no! You had to dig that out of the recesses of both our minds.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry about that.
Because we were not even on the same plane of reality on that with that character.
Yeah,
that just broke reality, I think.
That's good though. Yeah. Oh,
shattered.
Oh, Chirico. Can you imagine Chirico in a freaking Michael Bay movie?
Blow up all of the things.
Yeah.
The most American.
Awesome.
He also says, what are the most surprising instances of voice actors being cast in certain roles for you? For me, it was finding out that Guy from Gal Gaigar and Angelo Salper from Unicorn both share the same voice actor, Michael Sinterniklas.
I mean, it's not a lot of choices, and mecha anime surprised me when it comes to voice actors being casted, because a lot of the times it's either Brad Swale or that's freaking Slurpy Spike or Johnny Young Bosch. I'm trying to think of a selection that stands out.
Oh, that guy that was in all those damn all those. You remember the ADV ones? The guy that was what's this?
Oh yeah, freaking Shinji.
The lead in Full Metal Panic. That guy.
Oh
that
yeah,
voice. I don't know who the hell that guy is, but like all of those old ADV films, that guy was always the freaking lead.
Yeah, you're right. I forget his name, but I know you talk about.
Yeah. What about Vic?
What about Vic? I know that's Chris's favorite choice.
Chicken sandwiches. And I'll be doing my Christian service in the morning.
Is Vic all of a sudden what's his name? John Lovitz.
Yeah, that's it. That's the ticket.
Oh no.
Sure.
Anyway, Soulbro.
For what? For voice actors? I can't really. Outside of what Neil named, there's really most of the time, and most of the shows, Matt Hill maybe. To hear Matt Hill, he's a Canadian voice actor that was the voice of.
What's all about, Athrun?
Exactly. For those who don't know, he's the voice of Kira.
I'm so sorry.
I like Matt Hill. I've always liked him since Ronin Warriors. So yeah, he's very Canadian. But when he does show up in a work of mecha anime, it's always good to hear him. So I'll throw that hat into the ring.
You know what's a surprise? Hearing Brad Swale in every Gundam series.
Oh my goodness!
No, you know what's an actual surprise is. I'll throw this one out here. David Kaye as Clank in the Ratchet and Clank games and upcoming movie, because it's such a different role for the guy who has been Megatron, Treize, Optimus, and so many other characters.
Oh yeah, Professor X even.
That too. So very unexpected role, but one that he does very well. And most recently can be heard as Jarvis in Avengers Assemble.
Oh wow, I did not know that. Holy shit.
And was interviewed a few months ago on Chaos Theater, so go listen to that episode.
Indeed. Crossover.
Yes. Two more questions here from him. What are your thoughts on the mech designs of Valvrave? I have not seen Valvrave or really paid much attention to the mecha, so I have no comment.
I can't comment on it either. I have yet to watch it.
Neil?
No, I agree. I agree with you guys. Same here. Haven't seen it. No comment.
All right. And lastly, he says, I keep hearing about how in the novel, the Turne is more broken than it already was. Abilities include its Moonlight Butterfly at full power being able to extend from the Earth to Jupiter. Wow. It can teleport anywhere. It can warp beam shots like in a Mobile Suit Cockpit, etc. Is there any truth or evidence to this, seeing as how the novels will never be officially translated? Well, how would you expect us to know that? I don't read Japanese. I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
I don't know these things.
Yeah.
But it sounds awful cool, man. It is, but that's definitely broken tier, most definitely. So if it can do all that shit, maybe one day we'll find out if somebody fan translates it. But I can't trust that either. So
we're almost done. We have Animalia saying this might be a dumb question, or if those do not exist, this might be pretty damn close. But is this the reason for the Australians equals criminals joke, the fact that Australia was originally founded as a penal colony for debtors?
No, not at all.
No, of course not. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of said criminals chose to chime in, that being Vent Noir, and said not just debtors. Transportation was the punishment for a wide range of crimes, ranging from petty theft to highway robbery and murder. Ooh. So these criminals want you to know that they're in there for some hardcore shit, not just not paying their debts. So
vacation with caution. That's their motto, and that's the travel bureau's motto in Australia.
I guess if you survive the trip, it's time served.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mecton GM says, Candyland question for you guys. After reading the Tamino Gundam novel trilogy, I was wondering what Western authors would you have write a Gundam novel, and what would it be about?
Oh, that's easy. I would have one Gundam. I would have a girl Gundam, and then she meets a boy Gundam who actually is like sucks energy out of her, and then she meets another boy Gundam who turns into a wolf. It'd be Twilight Gundam.
And it is written by Stephanie Meyer.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Terrible.
All right. That or the Hunger Games.
Okay, so one
a girl Gundam. She moves to a new colony. She meets a boy Gundam who's got a little bit different about him.
Stop.
Energy's going.
Stop. Sobro.
All right. I would love to see.
Say the guy from. Do not say the guy from Game of Thrones.
No.
Okay, good. I didn't want to hear that.
I would like to see either a Gundam novel written by Peter David or Michael J. Straczynski, and see pretty much their take. I wouldn't really set a premise. I would just like to see kind of an American spin on a Mobile Suit Gundam story, whether it be an original concept or an adaptation, but more so an original concept. I'd like to see them have a shot at that and see how it turns out.
I would like to see William Gibson write a crazy, mind-bending cyberpunk Gundam story.
Wow. You shoot for the bleachers. I mean, you're aiming for the aiming for the rafters, man. That's awesome.
What about the guy that did the Da Vinci Code? I'd like to see a Gundam in the Vatican trying to solve a crime.
Vatican Gundams.
All right. Our next question, our last question, comes from a guy named RoboLizard222, who I think Neo might want to be suspicious of.
I am.
Because his avatar is a Robo Lizard, and it says "Destroy the competition."
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's clutch those domes.
On the list.
Yes. So he says, the other day I watched Grave of the Fireflies and realized that I actually still have some human feelings left inside. It did make me wonder, though, what moments in mecha shows actually got you guys to tear up? Also, Sobro can't say when Emma died, and Chris can't say when he finally stopped watching Age.
Those are sources of joy, though. So that was actually, he's like, I survived. I had those same tears.
Sobro, a moment for you.
I will say when Uso's mother lost her head, I stopped watching Victory for 2 weeks because of that, and that really broke me up. Outside of that, the final set piece for Victory is really emotional. It is so emotional. That's a tough watch, man. I love that show, but Jesus Christ, that's top of my list right there.
All right, and Neo.
Actually, had me tear up. I don't know. I'm trying to think real quick. Victory's just bad in general. Victory is just like, it doesn't make you tear up. It just makes you hate life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit different. What's one that I really...
Well, you keep thinking, I'll throw one out.
Okay.
Well, one that gets me every time is Bernie's video at the end of 0080.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Absolutely.
And another one, just because it was so manly and awesome in its execution, the death of Kamina in the best 8-episode anime ever.
I can't remember the character's name, but remember the dude that Soshi was supposed to marry in Turn A Gundam?
Gavin Gooney.
Gavin Gooney. That one broke me up because that series is more so. There's not a lot of death in that show. Just to put that on the table, but he's one of the few people that died and pretty badly too. So and the fact that she's just there crying. Is she in her wedding dress?
She cries later in her wedding. She gets in her wedding dress and then starts crying.
That's right, and it's like that it plays for a real heartfelt scene that I couldn't help but get a little misty for.
Oh, I got one.
Mm-hmm.
When Slugger bit it.
Oh,
that was bad because he was.
Well, which way him biting it? Is it the TV series or
the movie?
Or the movie? Because it's kind of worse in the TV series.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot worse in the TV series. I think that's the one. Because in the movie, it's not as heartfelt with this whole thing with Mirai, and then of course there was a death that I liked, but then it got shattered on. Mulaflaga blocking the beam. But if you remove helmets, that reincarnates people.
And just give him some scars here and there on his pretty face.
Yeah, it's just
that's all he needs.
That's all it works.
Anything else from anyone to add?
Well, it didn't make me cry, but it made me happy with tears when Lelouch was in the back of the cart. At the end of the
that does remind me of Shirley's death. Then Shirley's death in Code Geass, I would say is a real tearjerker right there. That's some tough stuff, and that Suzaku did it right. He did it.
Yeah, that one. I don't know if it's a tearjerker, but it's definitely an emotional moment. And also, while we're along those same lines, Euphemia's death, because it was such an avoidable tragedy, just from Lelouch being stupid and opening his mouth, and you kind of feel that sorrow along with him, and it just adds to it when he shoots her and he's like, "You may have been my first love." It's like, oh, that's just adding some more salt to the wound.
Oh, shoot! I can't believe none of us has said this. Roy,
yeah.
He
was my first. I gotta say,
first.
It was
your first.
He was my first. When it comes to death in anime, he was the first death I ever witnessed, and I was as an 8.
Are you one of Claudia's many black family members that we didn't know about? Is your last name actually Grant?
Roy likes to keep it in the family, apparently. But no, when it comes to seeing a character die in the show, especially one as beloved as Roy, that is a child.
That's a double one too, because you see him when he collapses, and then the next episode they got him laid out in that bed and stuff. That hospital.
No, the same episode.
Or it is the same episode
at the very end. Yeah.
So that's bad, man.
I couldn't believe it when I watched it as a kid. I couldn't believe I didn't believe it.
I was traumatized to hell.
And then they go.
One of the few things the freaking Harmony Gold left in.
And then they go and kill Kakizaki or Ben the next episode. So it's like, yo, what is the show on? I couldn't. I was.
They're supposed to eject.
Haven't they watched G.I. Joe?
Mistake.
Tough times, man. Tough times.
All right. So with that, we will wrap up the mailbag. Please be sure to send more questions on the Mecha Talk thread. And of course, you can also submit voicemails, which we don't have any right now. And that's our voicemail line, 305-792-8324. So drop your question there. Make sure you keep it short and specify which podcast it's for.
Absolutely. And thank you very much, Chris, man. It was a rousing mailbag. Any last thoughts, fellas, before we wrap this episode up?
Just was wondering, what's the target date for Pacific Rim? 2015 or 2016?
2015's pretty full because you got Avengers and Star Wars and
World's Finest,
Batman versus Superman, and
oh boy,
all these other crazy movies.
Maybe next month. We gotta keep these movies coming. We gotta keep them coming. But no, specific.
Well, it could be next month if you make your pitch to Asylum tomorrow, because they make a movie in 2 days over there.
They already listened to this show and they're hard at work.
Probably.
I want my check in the mail.
Well, we want checks too because we heard you saying it and we caught it.
There we go. All 5 cents. Of residuals. But any other thoughts, fellas, before we wrap this up?
No.
Well, all right. Definitely peep these websites. Head on over where the magic happens. MAHQ.net. That's the mecha and anime headquarters. Also, make sure you visit Gundamn.net, the official website for the Gundamn at MAHQ podcast, and where you can download and find information on this episode and our entire back catalog. Join in on the conversation at mechatalk.net, where you can also find official forums for Gundam, where you can submit questions, topics, and reply to anything that we said in this episode. All other links for Gundam at MAHQ can be found at about.me/Gundam. There you will find links to us on iTunes, Facebook, YouTube, and our other media facets. After listening to Gundam, the next podcast you should be listening to is Chaos Theater, MAHQ's other podcast that focuses on other facets of nerddom, hosted by the webmaster of MAHQ himself, Chris Guanche, and everybody's favorite pedal bear of the South, Pedro Cortez. Listen to them at chaostheater.blogspot.com. Shinjuku Station also has a podcast that focuses on fighting games, called Fighters Ready, hosted by Gundam's own Sobro Ryu and his co-host Nick the Stampede. Fight your way on over to fightersready.net, where you can download episodes and join in on the conversation. And that's it for Gundam at MAHQ. We'll see you guys next time.
Speaking of the robots,
they're called Jaegers in this film.
They're called Jaegers, which they tell you means, is in German, means hunter.
Yes.
So, of course, we brought out our bottle of Jägermeister.
Mm.
And if you didn't know, Jägermeister means master hunter in German, hence the picture of the deer. So let's have a shot of this alcohol beverage.
I think a fun drinking game for the Pacific Rim movie is every time they say the word Jaeger, you take a shot of Jaeger. You'll be drunk within the first 5 minutes.
You'll be dead.
You'll be dead by the end of the movie.
So caution, please don't play said drinking game. Said drinking game was not authorized by Red Letter Media Incorporated.
Mm.
Gundam at MAHQ is a Shinjuku Station and MAHQ.net joint.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that the designs of the robots weren't too crazy. There was only one where it was a Japanese robot, I think, and there were 3 operators because it had 3 arms.
Right.
And one of the arms, the hand turned into spinning blades, or it was a little, but it wasn't like, I can't tell what's happening.
Right.
What's happening?
And they don't have an endless supply of weapons and things they can do. The most exciting part of the movie is when they realize that they have a sword. Mm-hmm. And they say, fuck, let's use the sword.
I don't know what it is that's missing from this. I think as far as audiences go and watching this movie, it's the reasons why it's not doing really great. One is because Grown Ups 2 came out in theaters, and everyone has to see that. If you got your choice, you go see Grown Ups 2. But I think a lot of it might be big dumb fatigue.
Possibly, because you look at this movie and it looks, not that it's an intelligent movie, but it's intelligently made and it's a lot of fun. But I think people look at it and they say, oh, it's like another Transformers movie.
Yeah, or a Battleship.
Yeah, or a Battleship type movie.
Creatures in the ocean, aliens in the ocean that are smashing things, and they go, oh, I don't want to watch that. And people are so accustomed to big dumb, that they might stray away from this.
Yeah.
And it's called Pacific Rim.
Yeah, the title doesn't really tell you what it is. You know, Transformers, well, I recognize that title, obviously. You know what they should have called this movie?
What?
Grown Ups 2.